Okay. There you go.
And I did not want my.
I'll call this meeting to order on Monday, August the 17th, 2015. I want to welcome everyone. We have with us tonight, standing back in the cheap seats, Shell Osborne from the Life Church Smyrna Assembly of God at 4100 King Street, who will come forth this time and give our invocation and also lead us in the pledge of flag. So would everyone please rise?
Evening, Mayor, Council. Father, we're so grateful for another day, and we thank you for leading and guiding the decisions that will be made tonight. We pray that everything that's done would be for the betterment of our community and certainly for your glory, and we would ask all of this in your strong name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mayor.
I believe that's the shortest invocation he's ever given for having this many people. You did good, though. If you're looking for a new church or if you're new into the community, I'm sure the folks at 4100 King Springs, which is next to Griffin Middle School, the old Smyrna Assembly of God Life Church, they'd love to have you come. And I've been there before. It's good. It's good. Thank you, Shell. Item 2 is agenda changes. There's item A under land issues, zonings, and annexation. Once we get to that issue, which will be in just a minute, that item will be tabled until September the 8th. So if you're here for that, it's going to be tabled to the 8th. We will not take any public comment because we're actually tabling the hearing portion of that. So other than that, I think that's the only thing on the agenda where there's a change. Under the mayoral report, I don't know, Terry, if you want to make the announcement at the beginning of the meeting about the election and at the end of the meeting. You may not have as many people here after the I guess I should have told you. You might have been more prepared.
I'm prepared. November the 3rd, we will be holding an election for all 8 seats, mayor and 7 council seats. To qualify for mayor, to qualify for mayor or city council, you must be 21 years of age and must meet the requirements of the qualified voter as a qualified voter of the city of Smyrna, as prescribed by state law, and must have been a resident of the city of Smyrna for at least 1 year prior to the date he or she offers as a candidate. And if elected, must continue to reside in Smyrna throughout his or her term of office. The candidate shall not have been convicted of any crime involving moral turpitude. Council member positions are designated by ward numbers 1 through 7. All candidates qualifying to run shall be a resident of the ward from which the candidate offers for election. At the time of election, the council member must remain a resident of the ward from which elected during the term of office. To run for mayor, to qualify, we will begin qualifying August the 31st, September the 1st, and September the 2nd, 3 full days from 8:30 to 4:30 with 1 hour of lunch from 12:30 to 1:30. To qualify for mayor, it is $756. To qualify for city council, it is $567. We will be qualifying in our HR conference room here at City Hall 2 weeks from today. Anybody that would like to qualify, please be here on that day, one of those 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Under item 4, land issues, zonings, and annexation, A 2015-168, public hearing zoning request C15-007, rezoning from R20 to RAD conditional for the development of 15 single-family homes, 5.61 acres, land lot 338, 3744 Plumcrest Road, Venture Homes, I'm going to just turn this straight over to Ron Fennell, who represents that district, and let him make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've had quite a bit of public input on this through a town hall meeting that I held, not required, but that I held August 12th at Bronner Hall. I've heard a lot of input in writing, by email, and phone messages from a lot of Ward 7 constituents. There is some remaining confusion about the actual project and the details of it, according to my reading of some of the communications. To make sure that everyone understands what's at issue when it comes before council on September 8th, I am requesting an additional public meeting, a town hall meeting that I will hold on Wednesday, September 2nd, at Bronner Hall at 7 p.m. Wednesday, September 2nd at 7 p.m. I understand the applicant and the developer are having sidebar meetings with some residents to answer questions as well. I encourage as many of those fact-finding opportunities as possible so that everyone will understand what we're going to address when it comes before this council on September the 8th. No public input will be heard today so that the public meeting process will be protected. And it is to that end that, Mr. Mayor, I move that the zoning request Z15007, rezoning from R20 to RAD conditional for the development of 15 single-family homes, 5.61 acres, land lot 338 at 3744 Plumcrest Road, Venture Homes, Inc., to be tabled to a date certain, September 8th, 2015, where the council meeting will request the applicant to allow for a community and public meeting in this space in the public hearing on September 8th.
Second. Motion, second to table. All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 7-0. Item B, 2015-223, public hearing zoning request Z15-013, rezoning from limited commercial to R15 for the construction of a single-family home at 0.363 acre land lot 520, 2645 Hickory Hill Drive. Joseph Custry, is the applicant here? Okay. The background, please, Ms. Tony Jo Harvard.
Yes, Joseph Kuski is requesting a rezoning for the property for the construction of a single-family home. Mr. Kuski plans to demolish the existing home on the site and construct his new personal home.
Yeah, I know the applicant's here. Would you please step forward? This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that's in opposition to or that would like to make any public comment concerning this zoning request? Opposition to, or if you're in favor of it, or if you just don't want to say anything, you don't have to. But we like to get people sworn in at the very beginning of the hearing. Scott, do we need to swear in the applicant? I'm taking that there's no opposition. There's nobody here that wants to make any public comment. Okay. Ms. Terranulowicz, this is her district, so I think you can probably have you want him to have a seat.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll invite.
You can get the front row.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, stay towards the front. But I would like to invite community development up to talk a little bit more about the background of this project.
It's going to be a short presentation. The PowerPoint and the computer system's not working, so you guys won't be able to see it. Basically, this rezoning case went before the Planning and Zoning Board on July 13th. They recommended approval by a vote of 7-0.
They're telling me that there's a computer glitch in this, so we're not seeing anything up here, right? Except Rusty.
Right.
Yep. Okay.
So I'll be able to see it and be able to present to you, but all right. This property is zone limited commercial. It's located on Hickory Hill Drive. It backs up to the city's fire department and police station. The applicant is requesting to downzone this property from limited commercial to R15 conditional, and they're planning to take down the existing single-family residence that's there today and build their new home. With this request, they're requesting the conditional part of it will be a site plan specific zoning, because they do need a side setback reduction from 10 feet to 7 feet. Community Development recommends approval of the rezoning from limited commercial to R15 conditional with the following conditions. Standard condition number 1, all utilities within the development shall be underground. Number 2, the developer shall be responsible for any traffic improvements deemed necessary by the city engineer. Number 3, no debris may be buried on any lot or common area. Number 4, the developer will comply with the city's current tree ordinance. Number 5, all landscape plans must be prepared by a registered landscape architect. Number 6, all yards and common areas are to be sodded and landscaped. Number 7, the development shall maintain the following minimum setbacks: front setback of 35 feet, a north side setback of 10 feet, a southern side setback of 7 feet, and a rear setback of 30. Number 8, the home shall have a minimum floor area of 1,800 square feet. Number 9, the driveway shall have a minimum length of 22 feet, and that's measured from building face to back of sidewalk. Number 10, the new proposed home shall not exceed 2 stories in height. Number 11, the right-of-way along Hickory Drive shall be increased to 50 feet. Therefore, a 10-foot right-of-way dedication is required. Number 12, the developer shall provide a 5-foot sidewalk with a 2-foot grass buffer along Hickory Hill Drive. Number 13, the applicant shall provide a drainage easement to convey stormwater across the property. The city engineer shall approve and review approve the size and location of such easement. Number 14, approval of the subject property for the R15 conditional zoning district shall be conditioned upon the site plan submitted. And 15, they'll be held to the building elevation submitted in the zoning application. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Warren? Okay. Thank you, Rusty. You want to hear from the applicant? You step up and tell us who you are.
Well, I think you pretty well described it. We bought the house last year and plan to build our new house on it. It's not for resale, it's for personal use. The plan that we chose and the architect that we chose, the house is just a little bit too big for R15. We need the 3-foot setback, which is why we requested that.
Just for the record, will you tell us who you are?
My name is Joey Kuski.
You want to introduce your wife back there?
That's my wife, Allie.
Yeah, good deal. Okay.
Any questions?
No, I really don't. I think I'm actually pretty excited to see you wanting to build on the street that you've chosen this site. I think it's a beautiful lot, and I think that your home is really going to contribute to the surrounding neighborhood. It's a really good neighborhood back there. There's a wonderful community of folks who live in that area off of Hill Street and Hickory Hill and Brown Circle and Hughes Street, and I hope you really enjoy yourself because it's a wonderful neighborhood.
We're definitely excited about moving to Smyrna.
Good.
Any questions? Okay. Terry?
At this time, then, I would like to go ahead and move to approve item 4B, which is item 2015-223. This is the public hearing for zoning request Z15-013, rezoning from limited commercial to R15 for the construction of a single-family home. It's a 0.363-acre land lot 520. The address is 2645 Hickory Hill Drive. The applicant is Joseph Kuski.
I have a motion and a second to approve this zoning request. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. Still got one left. 7. It's approved 7-0. Thank you very much. Welcome to Smyrna.
Welcome to Ward 3, y'all.
Maybe the last clap here tonight. All right, item 4C, under land issues, zonings, and annexation, 2015-227, public hearing, zoning request Z15-014, approval of a zoning amendment to modify the currently approved site plan and building elevations, 12.62 acres, land lot 559, northeast corner of the intersection of Atlanta and Spring Road, Halpern Enterprises. Is the applicant here? Okay. Can you give us the background, Ms. Howard?
Yes, I'll give a brief background. I'm sure community development will expand upon it. Halpern Enterprise is proposing to construct a mixed-use project. The proposed project will consist of approximately 65,000 square feet of retail space and 290 apartment units with an associated parking garage.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that's opposed to or that would like to make any public comment concerning this rezoning request? For those that would like to make any public comment, either for or against, you need to come forward and be sworn in at this time. And that means if you just think you want to make a comment, and then as we get into the hearing you don't want to, then you're not required to. But anyone that would like to make any public comment for or against, please step forward and we'll get you sworn in. Yeah, y'all let these, there's a bunch of folks behind you, they're ready. They can.
All right, can everybody hear me? You guys going to testify? If you would raise your right hand. You all solemnly swear the testimony you in this matter should be the truth, the whole truth.
Okay, if y'all have a seat. You can have a seat, yeah. This is in Miss, no, not yet. We got to have the hearing part first. We got to have the presentation. Then if you sit close by, you can go first. Is the applicant here? Well, the applicant's here, I know. Ms. Nulowich.
Yes, first I'd like to have community development give some background on the project, and then we will go from there.
Then we have the.
Thank you, Ms. Nulowitz.
There you go. Amazing.
There it is. Perfect. We've seen this property in the past couple of years. This is a new owner for what we call the Jonquil site. And let me just quickly go through some background information associated with this. Halpern Enterprises is the current owner of the property. It's an existing MU conditional classification. The proposed zoning would remain that conditional use. The existing use that's been approved on the site is mixed use, and the proposed use would be a mixed use on this. We are not, as illustrated here by this slide, we are not changing the zoning classification. We're actually amending the plan that goes with the zoning classification on this. Again, in November of 2007, the subject property was rezoned from a combination of classifications, general commercial and light industrial, to the current mixed-use classification with a series of zoning conditions as well as a binding site plan that I've referenced. I'll get into more detail on that plan in just a moment. That particular project, also known as Jonquil Village, consists of 188,000 square feet of commercial, 29,000 square feet of office, and 300 residential condominium / luxury apartment units and 6 buildings over an underground parking deck. The Urban Design Commission followed up and approved the architectural plans for that design in March of 2008. Mayor and Council heard a separate request, a different request years later, modifying that original plan and the building elevations in December 2013, and Council voted to deny that request by a vote of 4-3. Now, the current zoning proposal continues the mixed-use project classification, but it is at a lesser density than that original project. This project has approximately 65,000 square feet of retail space, which would consist of a grocer, freestanding retail, and a freestanding restaurant, and 290 luxury apartment units with an associated parking garage. The vicinity maps that we show on the screen, on the left is the zoning map illustrating the mixed-use classification. On the right is our future development map, which also illustrates that it is in line, that the zoning is actually in line with the future development map. So this is the currently approved site plan that I've referenced. I'm going to outline some areas to take you through this plan, and then I will take you through the proposed plan in a similar fashion so that you can see the similarities and the differences. I'm starting in the upper right corner. The detention facility was proposed for that general area. Then there was a one-store grocery building that was proposed with the entrance coming in off of Spring Road. There's a 4-story multi-use building that was approved. It had ground floor retail, and then the apartments were above. Along the Atlanta Road and at the intersection of Spring and Atlanta, we had multi-use buildings with ground floor retail with office space above. The whole site sat, well, not all the site, but most of the site was over a parking deck. You had 365 surface spaces that are illustrated here, as well as 893 in the deck itself. And there was an out parcel that would be the northern most part of this tract. There were 3 access points at that time. 2 of them had full access. One full access off of Spring Road. We had a right-in, right-out off of Atlanta Road, and then we had a full access at that lined up with Church Road, and it was to be signalized. These are the approved elevations for that 2007-2008 approvals. This is the proposed site plan, and I will take you through a similar outline. Again, you have the detention facility in more or less a similar location. But instead of the grocery store being off of Spring Road, you had we have a multi-family building containing 290 apartment units. The grocery store in this plan is pushed more to the middle of the site, backing or adjacent to the railroad track. It actually faces north towards the parking lot that is shown there, and the side of the building actually would be facing the Atlanta Road. On the parking aspect, there's 375 parking surface spaces there, and then within the parking deck that serves the multifamily structure, you had 464 structured spaces there. Again, we have retail also wrapping the corner. These are one-story retail buildings. Both of those also contain a restaurant on each corner around the open area. There's also a one-story building in the northern part that is proposed more than likely to be a restaurant. Again, we have 3 access points here, but there's only one full access. The full access that is on Spring Road has been modified to a right-in, right-out access point. The other right-in, right-out basically is in the same area as the previous plan, and then obviously the full signalized access at Church Road remains. So these are the current perspectives that we have from an elevation standpoint. You can see this is basically taken at the intersection of Atlanta and Spring, looking into the site between the two retail buildings into a little open sort of plaza area. The bottom photo or rendering actually is taken at the proposed new signalized intersection with Church Road, in that you would look in and it shows the grocery store, and then behind the grocery store you can see the top floors of the parking deck and the multifamily structure. Closer view of the grocery store as well as the multifamily structure on the top, and then on the bottom we have the other side of the retail uses that are at the corner. This is from the parking lot side. Again, going around on the building elevations for the grocery store, you can see the front elevation. This is the one that is facing towards the parking lot. Then you've got you've got a side. The next one is the side that is adjacent to the multifamily building. The next one is the side adjacent to the railroad track, and then one on the bottom is the side that actually basically fronts towards Atlanta Road. You may have seen earlier proposals of this building. After going through planning staff review, planning commission review, and urban design commission review, there have been changes to this. I will point out that there are tower features now shown on the two corners. There's also additional brickwork around the building, as well as some other adjustments that the applicant proposed and UDC accepted. This is the building elevation for the multifamily. The top one gives you probably a greater perspective of how the parking deck itself is attached to that. This view would be, if you were looking towards the grocer, you would see maybe the top two floors of this building. Then it goes around. You've got the rear and the Spring Road side of this. The petitioners can go into detail about what they intend for the apartments, but basically this is sort of a self-contained multi-story multifamily building. Again, closer views of what was designated as Retail Building A and then Retail Building B, which were also shown on those earlier perspectives. This would be the northernmost track showing the restaurant building there. Just the signage and some of the entryway signs at those driveways. Staff's recommendation, as well as the Planning Commission's recommendation, was for approval. Planning Commission sends this to you with a 4-3 recommendation to approve. There are multiple stipulations. You have those in the information that we have sent to you. I will quickly go through the highlights of these for the audience purpose as well as for the record. But the stipulations and conditions obviously agreed to here would supersede any that has been done in the past. Obviously, it's to be developed as a mixed-use development. It needs to be in conformity with the zoning plan that staff has labeled August 14th. Building elevations are also part of this package, and that they are have to be in substantial conformity with that as well. The minimum floor area may not be less than 900, have an average of 900 square feet on those multifamily units. There was some discussion here about what was the correct wording to achieve this master protective covenant. It was decided on that we could use a declaration on this. So that wording has changed slightly from the Planning Commission, but that's more from a legal aspect than anything else. There is no change in intent there. Again, whatever covenant, the master covenants do, when they're put in place, they have to deal with the architectural design of the building. There needs to be a third party that's responsible to run the day-to-day operations of those amenities. The retention pond obviously has to meet the requirements of the city and pass approval with the city engineer. All utilities have to be underground. Water and sanitary improvements also have to be approved by the Public Works Director. And at a minimum, there are some improvements that are needed, which include the extension of the city water main along Spring Road. The developer is responsible for any and all traffic improvements associated with this development. And at a minimum, this includes the access drive on Spring Road, the completion of the Spring Road 10-foot multi-use trail, the southern access on Atlanta Road, which I've mentioned a couple times, is right in, right out. The developer is responsible for the traffic signal, which we have mentioned, as well as the northern access drive. Not only has to be signalized, but also has to be approved by the city engineer, their final plans. Developer shall dedicate enough right-of-way along Atlanta Road to get the existing trail entirely on public right-of-way. The developer shall provide both pedestrian and vehicular interparcel access with the city. This would be in the northern part of that site next to the restaurant, going into adjacent to the Smyrna Museum site in Aunt Fanny's Cabin that the city owns, subject to the approval of the city itself. No debris may be buried on any of the on any lot or common area. Standard condition of decorative street lights in this area have to be equivalent to the Georgia Power style post we already have in Larkin Village. They have to follow the tree ordinance. Obviously, all landscape plans have to be prepared and stamped by a Georgia registered landscape architect. All yards and common areas have to be sodded and landscape, and then irrigate as appropriate. The entrance sign has to be in conformity with what they have submitted to us, which I showed you briefly earlier, and that the parking for the restaurant, commercial retail within development will be provided by means of surface and structured parking as shown, and they will provide sufficient and adequate parking for the total development at those numbers that we had talked about previously. All the air conditioning units and any other units that are needed for this need to be screened from public view. Landscaping shall be installed and maintained by a professional third-party group. Concrete sidewalks shall be permitted around those commercial buildings as shown on the plans. All other sidewalks and crosswalks connecting to Atlanta Road and Spring Road, multi-use trails, and between the different buildings shall be constructed with the use of brick pavers and match the pattern of the trail along Atlanta Road. Developer shall provide a bike sharing station / location area along Atlanta Road. The non-residential components of this development shall contain a maximum floor area of approximately 65,000 square feet. Dumpsters have to be screened from view. No outside paging systems, phone bells or loudspeakers would be permitted here. However, outdoor music or outdoor performances would be acceptable. There is a long list of uses that are prohibited. I'm not going to read each one of those, other than to say two things. One is this list is a list we have used previously in other rezonings. So there are no uses here that we've not discussed in detail in the past. The applicants, however, would like to discuss with you modifying the wording of the fast food establishments such as McDonald's, Wendy's, and the like, maybe to something slightly different on that. Again, this is the prohibited list that's continued. Maximum number of residential units shall not exceed the 290 that we've already talked, and that 100% of the units shall be constructed so they could be modified into condominium units in the future if the market is favorable to that. And all units have to be maintained in a Class A first class manner. The multifamily units shall also include interior finishes, and then we list a whole bunch of minimum standards there. This list was developed when we were going through developing the new redevelopment district for multifamily, which we have a sort of an RD15. If you recall, several years ago, we increased the density for properties that would take apartments down. They could put them back up at a slightly higher density as an incentive. And during the discussion, we came up with a list of issues that we felt were appropriate for interior finishes. So we've used that list in the past, and we are rolling this list forward. I also believe that the applicant has a proposal to add a couple words or modify a couple words within the whole section of number 32. The approximate mixture is 65% one bedrooms, 35% two bedrooms, and 5% three bedrooms. And finally, they have to, developer / applicant has to follow the city sign ordinance, but under the planned shopping development, which is outlined in section 82-15B and so forth. These were the Urban Design Commission recommendations, which they have already been incorporated within the elevations that you have seen today. If you jump down to the grocery store, I'd already mentioned the tower features, issues. The top one talks about the sidewalks and the use of pavers, the commercial buildings A and B. There was a little additional aspects there. EFS was they could not exceed 25% on those retail buildings, and that requirement also existed to the restaurant building. Those all have been addressed in the elevations that you have. So with that, I will be happy to answer any questions or go back to any of the slides that you'd like me to.
Did I understand you correctly that it's 65% one bedroom, 25% two bedroom, and then 5% three bedroom?
I think, yeah, I was thinking it was, let me go back, Andrea, let me go back to that slide if you don't mind.
I'm sorry. I was writing.
This item 34, that's what it states in the document.
Yeah. Just for the sake of the public to see that, I will bring that slide right back up. Which unfortunately it was at the end of the presentation and I'd already exited, so I'm sorry about that.
Ken, don't worry. But I'm close, right?
Yes, you are. And we are.
You got 105% instead of 100%, but.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I did. That did come out to 105. Sorry, you're right. So you may want to clarify exactly which one. That may have been 65 and 30 and 5 on that. But I would ask that you clarify that with the applicant.
Any other questions? Mr. Hildebrand.
I'm going to, and I say this also for the camera operator, I'm going to leave this on the site, on one of the site plans here, in case somebody else wants to refer to it, either the applicant or one of the citizens. So I will move it back. It's just, I will leave it right there on the proposed site plan. Thank you.
The applicant, if you'll please step forward and you can make any presentation that you want or comments.
Great. Thank you very much. And for the record, I'm Kevin Moore. I'm here on behalf of the applicant and owner, which is Halpern Enterprises. They are the applicant and the owner of the just over 12-acre site that all of us refer to as the Jonquil site. Mr. Southers, I thought, did a very good job, an excellent job of going through the proposal as well as reviewing the staff proposed conditions. I just want to hit on some of the highlights of that and discuss a little bit of that, as well as try to clarify a couple of points that even he raised as well that I'd like for hopefully the council to take in consideration. First and foremost, this property has history, has a good deal of history. Goes back a long way. It has been a place that, going back in Smyrna's history, as a downtown retail center that thrived and succeeded and eventually ran its life. When in 2006 and 7, a new project was proposed for Jonquil. It was an ambitious project that came at a very unfortunate time. That ambitious project, though, was not able to be realized. It was not able to be built. There are a lot of different reasons for that, but the fact is, it was approved and zoned for 300 apartments. It was approved and rezoned for 188,000 plus square feet of retail, almost 29,000 plus square feet of commercial office space. It was ambitious in its breadth and its scope, but it was rezoned and approved for that plan. Since that time, that company could not perform. It could not do it. Since that time, we've had the recession. We've had the facts that have come to play with that site and with this project. You've had another proposal that came before you about a year and a half ago that was unsuccessful. And that project was unsuccessful, I think, in large measure because it lacked a critical mixed-use component. It lacked really sufficient, substantial commercial space. You may have your own reasons for your votes and for how that was denied, but I do know that it didn't contain the significant commercial and retail space that this proposal contains. And it brings us to this proposal. This proposal, and I think it cannot be overstated, contains substantial retail, and not just substantial retail. Halpern, an entity, a company that you are very familiar with, that has delivered on its promises at Belmont, who turned around and came and has purchased this property, is ready, in partnership with Wood Partners, to deliver again. And will deliver on its promises as it relates to this project and build what we believe and develop a high-quality, mixed-use retail and residential project. And it has been able to bring back what was there originally. That was a major grocery. Having a grocery store in downtown Smyrna is one of those things that cannot be overstated for a downtown area. Certainly one of that caliber and quality. That grocer was gone. They weren't coming back. Now a major grocery wants to be here again. And I think that's significant. It's significant because of what Halpern brought to the table to bring that here. And that is not insignificant. This is not an apartment rezoning application. It is far, far from it. It is a mixed-use development And it's an application to have a new plan proposed and approved and considered, hopefully approved, but be certainly considered by the City Council, that contains significant retail and commercial components, as well as the residential components in the multifamily building. The major grocer being downtown is what other cities want. It's what other cities of the size similar to Smyrna want that can't get. But Halpern is bringing that to this council for its approval of simply an amended plan. This project as well brings to it significant other retail opportunities in the street frontage retail that you saw on the site plan that's there at the intersection of Atlanta and Spring Roads, with an extremely nice plaza entry point to mark this as that you've reached downtown Smyrna from Spring Road or from Atlanta Road. That's on the site plan, and it's significant. It's significant in the sense that it's street level frontage retail that we think will blend in very nicely with the Market Village here on this side of Atlanta Road, as well as providing for the additional restaurant or retail building adjacent to the already existing Smyrna property. This development plan is somewhat different, but we think it also has improvements. As you saw with the prior plan that Mr. Sutherland reviewed, you had a full access proposed onto Spring Road. Now we're only proposing a right-in, right-out with the grocery moved so that its primary access is through the full traffic light that will be installed at the intersection with Church and Atlanta Road, which we think is a much better way to move traffic, move vehicles, move people in and out of this project, move people in and out of Atlanta Road and Spring Road. We actually think that's better than the prior site plan in terms of traffic impact and in terms of traffic flow and vehicle movement. Additionally, with this project, you have specific design standards that have been achieved, specific designs on the building elements, and you saw all of those that have been submitted and been reviewed by your Urban Design Commission. They were recommended for approval. So the design elements have been recommended for approval. Your Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of this proposed plan as well, and now it comes before you. We think the project is spectacular. We think this project is something that time is now for this location, which is really a fantastic location, which is why you have Halpern and Wood Partners sitting here today ready to go. I wanted to talk just a minute or two about a couple of the items in the proposed staff conditions and help clarify that. One, as was pointed out, 65 plus 35 plus 5 equals 105, not 100%. That's your number 33, and that's the approximate makeup of the bedroom count or the unit count. What's being proposed is approximately 65% one bedrooms, 30% two bedrooms, and 5% three bedrooms. And it's significant, and that's why it's in here, and that it shows you that the multifamily component of this from Wood Partners is focusing on a market of millennials. That's why you see the overwhelming majority, approximately 65% of the count, will be one bedrooms. This is young professionals moving and wanting to find a place, that they seek in their market. That housing market has changed dramatically from 5, 10, 15 years ago as what it exists today. This project will capture that. The folks that would live here, want to live here, they rent by choice. And they do so, but they do so and expect, in exchange for that, a high level of quality. In exchange for that, they expect amenities provided that include being close to a downtown thriving area, just like Smyrna, where they can walk to the places that they want to do business with, where they can be a part of a thriving community and not simply be in their car going to someplace. They already are someplace, and that's what this project represents, and that's what Wood Partners sees with the multifamily component of this, and that's why you see the commitment to that unit mix. It's a unit mix focused on a highly desired market, millennials, not on different types of markets that may have a better place in some other location. In addition, I wanted to talk about, also as it relates to the multifamily component, as Mr. Sutherland reviewed, the multifamily units have certain interior finishes, and what that is a list of interior finishes that's about 11 long that speaks to the quality, and y'all, and the city has used that in other locations, as Mr. Sutherland explained. demonstrates or sets a level of expectation that the quality will be there. What we were asking for in this instance was that an allowance be made. These quality finishes are set today, but as time moves, tomorrow, next week, next year, sometimes quality, what's considered a very highly desirable quality component today might be slightly different tomorrow. There might be a different type of product that's equal to stainless steel or desired more than stainless steel, and they may want to substitute that. So what they were wanting is something that would be flexible, and that would be that these finishes or interior design finishes could be approved by city staff if that finish was of equal or greater quality, just so there'd be some flexibility going forward, because design changes occur and sometimes occur overnight as it relates to what is considered quality or desirable. In addition, one of the design elements is that tile flooring will be required in both the kitchen and bathrooms. We're asking that that be considered for tile or engineered hardwood flooring. Hardwood flooring versus tile flooring. They just want that option that would be both considered highly desirable, both considered quality, and that's an allowance they would like to have as far as their design specifications. Lastly, as it relates to the conditions, and then I'll try to wrap this up so that we can answer any questions that you may have. As it relates to the prohibited uses, as Mr. Southers has said, this is a list that we've seen before. One of those listed is a fast food establishments, such as McDonald's, Wendy's, and the like. We just want to change potentially how that reads, more in the sense of trying to define that a little bit better. All of us sitting here tonight know what a McDonald's or a Wendy's looks like, and when we say a fast food establishment, all of us kind of know what that is, and we don't want that there either, or Halpern doesn't want that there either. But in as much as housing options, the housing market has changed, retail and restaurant options and concepts have changed as well. 15 years ago, we never heard of Moe's. We didn't know what Five Guys Burgers was like. The concept of fast casual, restaurants that are highly desirable, Chipotle's, different types of restaurants that aren't a traditional fast food and aren't a traditional sit-down type of restaurant potentially are desired. So what we want to do is just make sure that we're not falling under the law of unintended consequences and throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but would ask that we could include a further definition that it would be fast food establishments with drive-through windows, such as McDonald's and Wendy's, because that's what really, from our perspective, defines fast food, and that is that you can order from a speaker, pull around, and get your food handed to you through a window. So we just want to tighten that up so that there's no mistaking what type of fast food we're talking about as we go forward in the future. So we think that meets the intent of what's desired there, and that is to have a higher level of restaurant or quality there, even though I love McDonald's and Wendy's, but they have their place, and we think that that may be some other location. Again, we have all of the people here, the professional consultants, the designers, as well as the owners and representatives of Halpern and Wood Partners that can answer your questions that I may not be able to the extent that they're technical, or you wish to ask them something specifically, and they're here and be happy to answer your questions, as would I. Again, we think this is a fantastic project. We can't wait to get started. They've already been bringing dirt in. They already own the property. What we're asking is for a plan approval under an existing zoning, not to change the proposed land use, not to ask for an apartment rezoning. The multifamily component was approved in 2007 as part of a mixed-use development, and that's what we're bringing to the table again tonight, is a mixed-use development of significant commercial and retail components that was not here until Halpern got here and was able to deliver that for this proposal. And we'd ask for your positive recommendation and approval of this request. And again, we appreciate your time and are here to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Moore? None. You got something, Mr. Wilson?
Yes, thank you. Yes, you mentioned engineered hardwoods.
Yes.
And I'm just looking at our list here, and it says tile or faux hardwood. So I just want to clarify that. What materials?
Sure.
It's number 32, item Roman numeral 7, I think.
Yes, and Ms. Wilkinson, what the term we would prefer is as opposed to faux, because then I think that's too general and might imply something that's not, would be engineered hardwood. That is not a vinyl product. Hardwood is, this is the type of hardwood if I went to Home Depot and wanted to redo my floors as hardwood, this is what I would get. What it's speaking to is the subfloor system that goes underneath that hardwood that makes it more durable. That's what I mean by engineered hardwood. So the planks fit together right, and it's what I have in my house and what you would commonly associate with as hardwood.
I have a
so not faux hardwood. We would prefer not to have that description.
I have a follow-up question to that. In my previous home, I put bamboo, which is a water-resistant wood, in 2 of my bathrooms in my previous home. It worked great, and I'm even considering doing it for in my upgrade that I'm doing to our master. Is that considered an engineered hardwood in your definition, or is that acceptable within that stricture?
I believe it would, because we're talking about yes, that is, because that's talking about we're really speaking
the better
to the
word
subfloor,
instead
not the
of
top.
faux be engineered? Is that the better word?
It's a defined word in the flooring industry. Yes, this is what you would, if you went to Shaw Industries and got that, this is what it is.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's great. The high-end homes are using all of that. I'm just...
Any other questions?
I have several questions, actually. Some of them you already addressed. One of that was related to, and I don't know if this is just an issue of semantics, but the fast food, the drive-thrus, because I agree with you. There is a difference in fast food and fast casual. McDonald's is fast food. Five Guys is fast casual. Steak and Shake is fast food. Shake Shack is fast casual. There's a difference. There's a difference in quality, there's a difference in cost, there's a difference in the duration of the time you spend there. And I think that duration is something that I think you want people to spend a little bit longer here than they would spend necessarily at McDonald's. So I'm comfortable with that, but I just wanted to, I also, like I said, I don't want to preclude Starbucks from coming in. You know, we have Jim and Nick's down on South Cobb Drive. They're not fast food, they're not fast casual, but they have a drive-through. Right. You know, so I agree with you. I want to prevent any unintended consequences, but I also want to be clear on the semantics that we're talking about. We are talking about fast casual, not fast food. And by fast casual, I mean when you typically, what the restaurant industry, the food service industry would designate as fast casual.
Right. I agree with everything you just said. I think that's, if you're looking for me, yes, you've encapsulated it much better than I did. But yes, fast casual we would want, fast food we would not.
Right. You want Chipotle, you don't want Taco Bell.
There you go.
Do you want a Subway? I love Subway.
I do too.
Okay. But is that considered fast food, or?
It's not, because you could have any kind of sandwich, delicatessen, prepared sandwiches and that type of thing. That's what I mean by we were trying to make sure what we're doing is trying to eliminate fast food that you and I associate as fast food as being, as I said, a drive-through window, which is commonly used as
we were just recognized last week as the number 4 city in the country for having a restaurant, starting a restaurant.
It's a great place to eat.
You ain't kidding. I'm perfect.
Could I remind you that the first week that the Zaxby's opened, it was like Smyrna had never had a drive-through restaurant before.
Yes.
I mean, it was truly unbelievable. So.
Yes. And again, this is not beating down on that concept. It's just that's what is proposed as a prohibition is fast food restaurants. So we're just trying to make sure all of us are speaking from the same page of the hymnal. Mm-hmm. That's all.
No, I agree with that, and I'm glad that we have this clarification right now, because I think that I would venture that clarification is probably important to folks in the neighborhood and the community also, that that designation between fast food and fast casual and really demarking what it is that we're talking about when we talk about this plan. A couple of other questions I had, one that relates to restaurants and the renderings, and I think I'm looking at the newest renderings, but the restaurants that are on towards the corner there, they have rooftop decks, correct?
That's correct. That's
okay.
What's proposed.
Will those be built with rooftop decks?
That is what's proposed on the designs, absolutely.
Okay, when you say, now you're not saying that they will be built with rooftop decks. What are the variables?
Well, those particular individual, restaurateurs haven't been selected yet, and I can certainly have Mr. West come up and say that. But the designs, the proposals, the ones that and elevations and renderings that have been provided, which are would be made a part of any approval, include the rooftop seating. So it's just
right now, and then
all
the
your
restaurant
enemy wants to hesitate to say 100% that's what's going to be built.
Right.
But that's what we're committing to.
Okay, well, and I just wanted to say, because I understand that different restaurateurs, someone might not want a rooftop deck, but they also might not be the permanent tenant for that restaurant. And in 5 years, 10 years, I think it would be nice to have that option available. I would hate for the person who's building out the space necessarily to dictate what is going to be in that space forevermore.
Right.
So, but that's just something that I wanted to clarify. And the other thing I wanted to clarify is that the freestanding restaurant, that and the rendering does not have a rooftop deck. And I just wanted to double check that was...
That's correct.
Okay.
And the rendering, it does not.
Okay. Yeah, I think my questions about the bathroom floor materials have been answered. For tree size, there's a tremendous amount of trees in the renderings and in the plan, and I like that very much. Now, when the Market Village was built out, the trees that were put in, and they've grown beautifully. You can really see when you go out there. I mean, it's a nice landscape aspect. In many ways, the trees are an amenity to the Market Village. We have shade now when you're sitting outside at one of the sidewalk cafes. These were planted as 6-inch caliper trees. Are y'all intending to plant also 6-inch caliper trees at this site?
Is that right? Joel can do it if he wants. I'll let them answer because I'm not exactly sure of. So,
well, the answer is because there are no trees on the site presently. In order to meet the minimum requirements of the landscape code, even though it looks like there's a lot of trees on the plan, there are not as many as there should be if you were planting small trees. So they're going to be larger than your typical 2 or 3 inch, but we're thinking 4 to 5 inch is the size they'll need to be in order to meet the number of inches required.
But no smaller than 4? Are you willing to commit to that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. Welp.
Steve, this may be a question for you. As the owner, are you willing to accept the requirement for no drive-through?
Yes.
Okay.
That was really, we knew we wouldn't want that, but we, as Ms. Anilowitz mentioned, depending on who you ask, you may get a different definition of whether somebody considers themselves fast food or not. And so we thought a drive-through is clearly something that doesn't really fit on our site plan, and is a definite definition of how a fast food restaurant would be determined.
No, and I think, for example, if, say, a Starbucks wanted to come in, many Starbucks have drive-thrus, but many do not. I don't think it's holding back the Starbucks at West Paces Ferry over by the burned-out shell of OK Cafe.
Any other questions?
I do. I'm still not certain that that's clarified with the faux hardwood, and I don't know if that's something that Scott and Ken might need to address.
They're welcome to. I was just simply saying, I know it says faux hardwood. That was a term that was given to us that we passed along to Ken, to Mr. Suttereth. But the term we would prefer, because we think it's much more descriptive and it's a term of art for the flooring systems, is the engineered hardwood.
That's what I was
we don't want
say.
faux because that's that
faux
could be
hardwood
anything.
could include linoleum.
Right.
It could include something that's not of any wood product, and so the idea was engineered hardwood, and that's a term of art. You can go to a flooring store and ask for an engineered hardwood section, and they'd point you to a place to go.
Correct.
Does that answer your question?
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Not at this time, but more may come up after public comment.
You just have a
Thank
seat.
you. Yes.
For those individuals that were sworn in that like to give testimony, Red Martin's going first. Just tell who you are, where you live, and any comments that you want to make. Each speaker, just a minute, Howard. Each speaker's allotted 5 minutes. If you, just so you'll know, if everybody's saying one thing, we'll get it. We'll figure it out. So We'll be here until everybody gets a chance to speak. So, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Howard Martin. I live at 3435 Lee Street here in Smyrna. I've been a resident of Smyrna for 51 years. Something that bothers me, this council for the last several years has spent millions of dollars to tear down apartments, things that become undesirable from apartment projects. You spent your taxpaying money and you spent my taxpaying money to tear these apartments down. I don't like the word apartments. I think people that come into Smyrna need to buy a home. We don't need apartments. Well, that has been a proven fact over the years with Hickory Lakes, the Commons, and earlier years over at Hargrove Road. The other thing, I'm hearing a lot about retail stores. We got Kroger over there with numerous empty buildings. We got Market Village over here that we were promised retail stores. There's no place you can go in there and buy any clothes, go in and buy any shoes. Most of the buildings over there I rode through, me and the wife rode through the other day, and they're empty. Kroger, as I said, they got all those empty buildings over there. We were promised retail over there. It's not come. Infrastructure. I heard it mentioned tonight about a new water line. Who's going to pay for that? Because when you tap into a system, I'm kind of familiar with tapping into systems. I worked with the gas company for 34 years, and I know more people that you put on the line, you got to increase the pressure. Coming down Atlanta Road, you got the apartments being built up here at Belmont Hills, and then you got these apartments out here. How is that going to affect the water system? How is the sewer system going to handle all the sewerage coming from these places? I have not heard the first word about the infrastructure other tonight by Mr. Sudreth. And believe me, that is an important question. What are you going to do about it? I know years ago over here at King Springs, I questioned about the infrastructure. Oh, the engineer at the time said, oh, the sewer system handled those 11 houses that were put there instead of the 3. Well, 6 months after they built those houses, they had to go in there and redo the sewer system. I'm very well familiar with things like that. Apartments. Apartments breed crime. I don't care where you get it. I don't know where you build it. You can draw the best drawing that you can put up there, and it looks real good. You can paint a pretty picture about it, but apartments breed crime. We don't need this in Smyrna. We got the gateway to Smyrna coming up Atlanta Road. We need something there. Are y'all familiar with the avenues in West Cobb? Huh? It's a blooming business. That property over there would fit something like the avenues of Smyrna or the avenues of Spring Road. That is retail. You don't need the apartments there. I don't know what you're selling here, apartments, or you're selling retail, because I kept hearing about all the retail that we're going to get. There's not a place. I just went the other day and had to go to Marietta, the other side of Marietta, to buy some clothes and things. I'm getting ready to go to Florida, and I had to buy some clothes. There's no place here. There's not a place that you can buy shoes. You ladies, you can't buy your shoes here. Where you go, Kohl's, Macy's, on the north end of the county. It's not here. Movie theater. A nice movie theater would be nice here. You show movies down here at Bronner Hall on certain days. We need a movie theater. We don't need apartments. Mr. Welch, I'm going to address you on this. I made a comment the other night at the P&Z board, and you asked me what did I say, and I told you. And you said you got a better idea of what to do. Yes, sir, I have a better idea. Not apartments. Build something like the avenues on Dallas Highway in Marietta. so people can have a shop. We don't need another grocery store. We got a Publix up on South Cobb. We got a Publix down at the East-West Connector. We got a Publix over at Paces Ferry. We got a Kroger over here. And by the way, I've not heard anybody say what kind of grocery stores come in here. I've not heard anybody say what kind of retail. I'm just saying we got a lot of retail space. Yeah, we do. We still got a lot of retail space that wasn't filled up from the last several people that come in here. I'm sure Mr. Halpern is a good man. I'm sure he builds a good project. But we don't want his apartments down here at the gateway of Smyrna. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I definitely cannot follow that. I am Sue Levine. I live at 1294 Cliffwood Drive, and I want to thank you all for serving us and giving us a great city. I am kind of shocked to find myself here tonight. I didn't think we'd ever be discussing apartments in Smyrna. I'm just going to give you some of my thoughts because I'm not well orchestrated or rehearsed or anything like that. So I'm just going to give you some random points that I've been thinking about. The first thing I want to say is that we're doing really good on real estate right now. And Cliffwood, the Cliffwood Forest Hills area is really rocking it. We're selling fast and we're selling high. It's fantastic. People really want to live in Smyrna. Am I happy about Brave Stadium? Look, I don't have an opinion. It's done. Okay? So, yeah, we're going to have traffic. But what I'm saying is people really want to live in Smyrna. So this is a fantastic time to sell them some homes instead of having apartments. So we're not really desperate anymore. It's like we don't need to fill that space up because right now we have the upper hand. And think about this. Think about Google Fiber, right? So we are so lucky that that's coming. So now we're like, people who want to buy a home, they're going to want that Google Fiber. They work from home. And with regard to those apartments, those one-bedroom apartments for these millennials, well, I have news for you. Young people, they like to have 2- and 3-bedroom apartments because they want a yoga room or meditation. They want to work from home. They want a little home office. They want space. They want separate space, even if it's a couple. Everybody likes their space. So these one-bedroom apartments are really not a good idea. Okay, so another thing about the food, we like to call it, this is off topic, a workaround, okay? So the restaurant where you have to work for your food, like Chipotle, we call that a workaround. So all workarounds would definitely be welcome. Just kind of throwing that out there. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the schools. Okay, so I know we want to improve the education in Smyrna, and if you get homeowners, then you get those type of homeowners that really invest, those parents that are real active with the PTA, etc., which will make our schools super awesome. So if you have apartments, if they bring in children, that'll be the transient population that will add to the actual load of services that are provided and not necessarily improve the schools. And I know we keep trying to improve those schools. Let me just look through my little notes here list. I can't really think of anything right this minute, so I'll stop. But I will say that I want to thank Mr. Sudworth for really making this clear to me, plain English, and also Mr. Moore, who gave an excellent presentation from their side. I just feel like with a mile away, you're going to hear we don't need apartments, but we don't. I was so proud that Smyrna, I was able to say, oh yeah, we've outlawed apartments in Smyrna. We don't do apartments. We have homeowners here. Like, I was bragging on the place because I thought that was such a great feature. And I'd love to kind of, move back in that direction. So thank you, everybody, for all your hard work. Take care.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Patricia Weaver, and I live at 3089 Lee Street. I have a question about the presentation, and that is when Mr. Sudworth said the one-bedrooms were an average of 500s, or the apartments were an average. Okay, so can somebody from Halpern, though, clarify what the smallest apartment might be? I think you said an average of 500.
That's
not the smallest one would be 500.
Well, hold on. We need to find out the people that are. Why don't you go with your comments and then we'll.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. What has been said about apartments. I see it as a little bit different, and that is that I have nieces and nephews that are millennials, and they don't live by themselves. Okay? So they're not in one-bedroom apartments. And as to the lady who was right before me, the comment is, and they want the extra space of sometimes of the two-bedroom, because when you have a one-bedroom apartment, the living room is appropriately sized to the fact that it's a one-bedroom. So if you have a two-bedroom apartment, you actually get a living room where you could have friends over. So it has to do with more the whole space and the layout of the apartment than it has to do with one or two bedrooms sometimes. I'm by myself. I live in a 4-bedroom house. Why? Because I like to have friends over. I want a dining room. I want a living room. Okay? I'm not a millennial. But I do know the millennials I know don't live by themselves. So a 1-bedroom apartment, I don't know who's going to live there. And if we could just get the clarification on what the smallest one would be, that would be great.
Thank you very much. Can you, would somebody from Mr. Moore? And I really don't know why they're doing what they're doing. I figure they know what they're doing because they've been in the business. They just yeah. So.
Mr. Mayor, if I could have Bennett Sands of Wood Partners who can explain that product mix question, just so it's settled before we go any further.
This is the guy.
This is the guy.
Good evening, Bennett Sands with Wood Partners. To clarify on the average unit sizes, it is a average of 900 feet is the minimum average square footage. Our smallest 1-bedroom will be 732 square feet. Is that good for everybody? And can I comment on the millennials?
Yeah. I know they don't like baby boomers.
Well, real quick, in terms of the millennials, we recognize that different millennials have different housing choices or want different housing choices. Yes, there are absolutely 2 bedrooms that will cater to a roommate-style living arrangement, and that's why most of the 2 bedrooms you see we have essentially 2 masters. Millennials hate sharing bathrooms, so we never do 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. That's kind of the first way we address the millennial. In terms of the 1 bedrooms, the way we paint the picture for who's going to live at Jonquil, where's the camera? I'm looking up, I'm looking down. Oh, there it is. In terms of the 1 bedroom, what we've found is that who we're going to draw to Smyrna is hopefully going to be a long-term Smyrna resident. And the reality is, if you're coming from Midtown or coming from Old Fourth Ward and you've maybe gotten engaged or recently married, you don't just move to Smyrna and buy a house. That's a huge leap of faith. So who we're targeting Jonquil for is a renter who has lived in Midtown, lived in Old Fourth Ward, lived in Inman Park, has gotten engaged, gotten married, and said, it's time to start thinking about the suburbs. And if you look around, you can go to Sandy Springs, you can go to Dunwoody, you can go to East Cobb. What we're trying to create here is an opportunity for the young future homeowner to come to Smyrna, pay $400 to $500 less than they're paying in Midtown, save up some money for a couple of years so they can make a down payment and support all the single-family communities in Smyrna. So, that's what we're trying to accomplish with our small 1 bedrooms. It's that husband and wife who are newly married, love each other, want to share a bedroom, and save up money so they can make a down payment on a $300,000, $400,000 townhouse or a single-family home. So with that, I'll turn it back.
Mr. Sams, I'd like to ask a quick question.
Yeah, Ron.
Rental rates.
Sure.
Give me the range, if you can.
Our smallest 1 bedroom will start in the well, here, let me pull it up real quick so I don't. Our lowest price point unit, the 732 square foot, will start at $1,300 a month. Yes, you can get a mortgage. Our largest, our 3-bedroom will rent for $2,300.
But you, I mean, you're in the business. You're in the apartment business. So you believe you're not putting these out there saying this number's and don't think you can't rent them, right?
Yeah, so for everyone's benefit, we are also the developer at Belmont Hills. We're leasing units right now at a price point that supports what we're proposing here. And I'm happy to talk about Alta Belmont if there's anybody who wants to rent in the so I'll give a quick plug. Alta Belmont is renting today for approximately $200 per unit less than what we're targeting here. And if you think about it, this is a far better location with the grocery store and the retail coming in than the corner at Belmont currently. So we firmly believe that there's a $200 to $300 premium for this location. So we can support it with rents we're getting today. Yes, sir.
Your other locations, are you filled up?
Well, Alta Belmont is leasing up today. We're approximately 20% leased, and we'll hopefully, with Smyrna's help, I'll be COing our first buildings this week.
Okay. Any questions?
Now, as I understood it, you are building these to a higher specification. And I will say, I toured your Alta Belmont. They're very nice. That having been said, that you're building these to a specification that sometime down the road they could be sold.
Yes, ma'am. The process for conversion is really, not very complicated. What would happen in a typical conversion scenario, either we or a condo converter would come in and buy the community and convert it either in blocks or all at once. The first step is to create a condo plat, essentially, create the condo docs to go along with it, and then you can phase down the apartments in sequence, or you could convert it all at once. If we go through the process of leasing it up, then someone's probably going to take a couple of years and go through the process of leasing it down. In terms of finish level, we would build the exact same product if it was a condo project out of the gate, so to speak. So in terms of the plans and the construction quality, we don't see any difference between apartment specifications and condo specifications.
Okay. That being said, I'm a little bit concerned about the ratio of the 1-bedroom and the 2-bedroom because a millennial may want a 1-bedroom apartment, but I doubt they want a 1-bedroom condo.
Yes, ma'am. And the part of the danger with 1-bedroom condos is you start really getting to a lower price point. Mm-hmm. And I think in the grand scheme of things, if you have too many, condos at that size, yes, it can absolutely be problematic. The way we take a much broader view of the unit mix, and Smyrna and Cobb County have a very good ordinance to encourage the demolition and redevelopment of older apartments. But as a function of the density bonus you guys offer to developers, there's always going to be a push to build bigger units. With that density bonus, you can build more units, but you can also build bigger units. So what you'll see is 1,000-foot units will get torn down and developed back as 1,200, 1,300-foot units. Absolutely a great strategy. Where we see it is that also creates an opportunity because there's not going to be many redevelopment options where people will build 1-bedrooms. It's going to skew bigger, and we think there's great opportunity to be the one deal in town to offer 1-bedrooms. So that's a market strategy for us.
Well, I can see that if this were New York or Chicago, where 1-bedrooms or even loft units or whatever are very common. I just don't. I'm not sure that I see that for here.
Understand, and I hear a lot of people agreeing with you, but the way we look at it is we're going to be the only player in town that has a good supply of 1-bedrooms. And that's how we're trying to position Jonquil.
Mr. Sands,
well, thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
We got some. Go ahead. We got some other questions.
The market in Metro Atlanta for the type of product you're talking about. Do you know the range of occupancy of available units in the metro market? Isn't it in the mid-high 90s already?
Yeah. The occupancy of the existing product, is that your question? Yeah, Atlanta's, right now, in terms of the projects that aren't under construction, yes, the occupancy is in the dearth of the apartment stock.
You're
is in
investing
the high 90s.
your money on a strategy that you believe is going to result in you have 100% occupancy at your site.
100%. It's high 90s. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
How many one bedrooms are at the Belmont location? Or what percentage?
Roughly 60%. I'm sorry, off the top of my head.
That helps. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I know we got other folks that want to speak, so thank you.
Available if you have any more questions.
Right. Don't get too comfortable.
I'll sit here.
There you go.
Rather than be repetitive to some of the people who are going to speak tonight on...
Name and address, please.
Alex Backery. On these restaurants that we don't have or do have, I agree with the previous speaker and other people are going to be speaking. We need more shopping. As he suggests, there is no place in Smyrna even to buy a pair of shoes. That should stay commercial over there. Originally, it was commercial. Now, the previous owner, before Halpern bought this, was only a year and a half ago, might be off a little bit, wanted apartments in there, and you turned them down for 3. Now, all of a sudden, Halpern's doing the same procedure with apartments, and you're considering him doing it. Seems to be a little favoritism here. You got the railroad tracks right behind it. We're only talking 12 acres here. If you had that complex that they're showing tonight next to 2 or 3 others, it would blend in. I don't see this blending into anything. It's going to be an eyesore on that corner. And again, having 3 lights right on Atlanta Road with Church Street, the traffic is going to be incredible. Now, if you look at other places, again, we should listen to the majority of the people. The people behind me, the majority that I've talked to, are against this. And I hope for once the people behind me pay your salaries. They pay the taxes here, not the developer. And I hope tonight when everybody speaks, you look at the majority rule. It's time that the majority speak, not 7 people in front of us, but listen to the majority of the people, because that's what open government is, and the majority always rules. So if you don't listen to the majority and vote against it, those people that vote against it, against the constituents and what their wishes, I see it being nothing but an eyesore downtown. Again, I don't consider Smyrna to have a downtown. Never have in 34 years. 3 bars, 2 eating sandwich places. That isn't downtown. I love going over the East-West Connector, the Golden Corral, over to the Kmart's and Walmart's. What's sad is 10 years ago, we turned down Walmart from going in Belmont. Would have been a tremendous addition. Every other place welcomes them. We're ruining our opportunities of people following people. And whether you like them or not, they're solid. But again, going back to Jonquil, it should be totally commercial and blend in with downtown. And I hope this council does consider listening to the majority here, and that's important. It's about time we had open government, and it'd be good to listen to the rest of the people speak. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Cohen. My address is 3258 Millwood Trail. I just wanted to speak to what the gentleman from Wood Partners said. He was describing millennials moving up from Atlanta, and that's actually exactly what my husband and I did. We moved about 6 years ago to Smyrna from Morningside in Midtown Atlanta. And we moved here to buy a house and to start a family. And I don't think that people move here to put down roots by renting a one-bedroom apartment. I don't think that you guys are painting millennials with what they actually want. I think people move to Smyrna to be part of a community. And I don't think that this project elaborates that. I don't think that it adds to the community. And the other thing is, when millennials move someplace and want to do a one-bedroom apartment and live there for a long term and want to be a purposeful renter, they want amenities. And Smyrna doesn't have that. Like he said, there's 3 bars. Millennials like to go out, and 3 bars is not going to do it. So that's, I mean, it's funny, but it's the truth. I mean, you look at where millennials live in Atlanta, and there is retail, there is shopping, and restaurants galore. That's what attracts millennials. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. And my name is Rudy Carruthers. I live at 1121 Drewsbury Court in Vinings Point. I've been here 20 years, and I moved to Smyrna from Northern Virginia. Talk about traffic, we got it there. Came here because I saw a place that was not developed, and I thought it's going to be. And it was. It is. And I'm so proud to live in Smyrna. I'm the only person standing up here tonight. You'll probably get darts in my back. I think about a big target. I'm going to say, I want this. I want to develop this corner.
Where do you live again? Shh, don't.
Vinings Point. I'm not giving my address out. And I'm taking Uber home, not getting in my car. I have millennial children, and one of my children, who is a millennial, lives in Midtown, and he's sick of it, and he wants to live in Smyrna, but he doesn't want to buy a house. He wants to live in an apartment. He doesn't want a big apartment. He wants a small apartment. And why does he want to live in an apartment? Because he wants to go and play and have a good time. He has a great job. He has money to spend. He wants to hang out with his friends. He wants to travel. He wants to be carefree. He doesn't want to cut the grass. He doesn't want to worry about putting down pine straw. He doesn't want to pay, all the taxes. He just wants to still be young. He's not married. He's not even engaged. But, he just wants to still be young. He's 32. He just wants to live the life right now. And this is what I see this corner can bring. He's an upper echelon kind of guy. He's got a good job. He's educated. Let's bring these people in. Let them love Smyrna, and then they'll buy the house. Get invested. These are the people that we're looking for. Bars? Sure. Bring more bars in. Let's develop Smyrna. Let's bring the right restaurants in. We just had, who said the article that was, we were just named the top, Number 4. Smyrna said we're going to be another restaurant. And
the Atlanta Business Chronicle.
That was it. Atlanta Business Chronicle said. And there was an article that said millennials it was in AJC, that, they should be going into apartments.
Yeah, there's data.
Yeah, I mean, there's data based on this. Let's not be blind to this. And when I moved here and saw there was no development, and my first home was over in Paces Green, and there was nothing around here. And everybody said to me, why are you moving to Smyrna? Why aren't you living in Buckhead? I said, because it's developed and Smyrna isn't. And it's going to grow, and you can grow with it. And there'll be so much, and it's wonderful here. You'll have to carry me out feet first out of my house. You will never get me out of Smyrna. It's going to develop, and I want to bring young people in to carry us out. We can't just let this die. We've got to bring young people in here, and I think this is what this corner will do. And if we leave it there a dust bowl, what's going to happen? I work for the city of Smyrna. I have to drive by there every single day driving to work, and I don't care how much traffic there is. I will leave my house 20 minutes, 30 minutes early to get there. I will do it because I love Smyrna. I want to see this happen, and I will do this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. My name is Mike Mitchell. My address is 1181 Church Street, Southeast. I live right back there, about 200 feet from here. And when I first heard about this proposal, I was, like many of my co-citizens, we didn't want apartments. And then I thought, someone should come to this council chamber tonight and suggest that you all consider outlawing all rentals in Smyrna and outlawing any domicile that's less than 1,000 square feet and lock the population so that no one else can move in, because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about keeping people from coming to Smyrna and spending money in our 3 bars and spending money in our Kroger off South Cobb Drive and not spending money off West Paces Ferry Road. We're talking about restricting people. In some circumstances, that would be illegal. We are talking about 290 apartments that will likely in 3-4 years be converted to condominiums. We're talking about 500 potential citizens for this community who will likely stay in this community. I lived in Marietta, and I chose to move to Smyrna less than a year ago. I chose to move to Smyrna because I like what's going on here. It's a great community. I agree. Traffic is a concern. We need more retail. I absolutely agree with that. But at the end of the day, we need to ensure the success of our community. And as each one of you gets older, and as I get older, and as all of my co-citizens get older, and our children get older, those millennials will move out because Smyrna has outlawed rentals and apartments. Because we want everyone to own in Smyrna. It's not possible. $1,300 for an apartment, my mortgage is 100% less than $1,300. I'm sorry, 50% less than $1,300. My mortgage is 50% less than $1,300. Drug dealers cannot afford $1,300 apartments. If they can, you know what? If they can.
All right, okay, y'all be nice.
Okay, if they, sure, if they can, they can. We have a very, very, very strong police department that will get them out very, very quickly. We have a very, very strong public works system that keeps their eyes open. I'm in your district. I want you to know we're neighbors. We are neighbors. I want you to know I love Smyrna. I'll consider leaving Smyrna if you restrict Smyrna and make Smyrna a clique. I chose not to live in Buckhead because I don't want to be a Buckhead Betty. I want to be in Smyrna. I want to be in Smynings, whatever you want to call it. So let's not restrict people from coming to our community, from contributing to our community, to going to our concerts on the green, to spending money in Atkins Park, in Vintage Tavern, and even in Zuka. Let's not restrict these people. Let this happen. I agree with the lady who just spoke. Let this happen. Let these people come here. Halpern is a reputable company. They do an amazing job. I've seen many of their projects. Who cares what grocery store it is? You know what? I don't care if they open Max Bacon's Pottery Barn and Tackle Shop. As long as they sell milk, I'll be happy to go there because it's closer than going down to South Cobb Drive. Let this happen. Let Smyrna grow. Ensure our success. Because if you restrict apartments, you'll ultimately ensure our failure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And just so I can clear this up, there's 8 different places in this downtown that you can eat and drink. So there's not 3. And those that you missed 5 other ones. So.
And point of clarification, I bought a pair of shoes in Smyrna on Saturday.
At Zuka's?
At Honeybee.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Lisa Lewis. I have a house on Church and on Davis Street, and I lived in Smyrna for 18 years, I guess now, since 98. I've seen a lot of change. And when I moved here, I could get to work on time without any problems. Since I've lived here, one job I was late 3 times and let go of, and that was been 7 years ago. And now I look for jobs that allow me to be on my own schedule because I can't leave my house at a proper time. I'm going to have to stay in Buckhead to take Marta to go on an airplane to fly out of town for work because I can't trust that I'm going to be able to get out of my driveway on Church Street on the day that I have to leave, on a Wednesday. It's a work day. And my neighbor who just spoke parks down the street when he has to get up early because he can't get out of the driveway either. So this is a huge issue now that we're going to have 290 new residents. And I know my family's only been in real estate since the 1940s, and I had a real estate license for 8 years, and I had an appraiser's license for 2 years, and I don't know anything about the market. But our market can handle currently new condos. And 1-bedrooms do not sell very easily. So for them to say 65% 1-bedrooms, now, not that I didn't predict the crash in 2004 when my boyfriend was building $20 million worth of real estate in Buckhead. I told him it was not a good idea, that the market couldn't handle it. He lost everything. And of course, then, had to do the old told you so. So I'm predicting right now that we could currently sell these units. And they need to be 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. In the last meeting we were at, what happened to all those divorcees looking for places to live, right? That's all we talked about is these divorcees that have all this money. They're making $150,000 a year and have nowhere to go. Do they want a 1-bedroom? No. They want an upscale 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. So, why are we building homes for children right now? We don't need any more children in Smyrna. And those bars, we still haven't cleaned up the smoking. I went over there one time with a neighbor recently for a birthday party, and it was the saddest group of people I've ever seen in Atkins Park. I'm not kidding. There were shorts all the way up to up to here. I mean, that stuff, we shouldn't have that in here. That's why I go out in Buckhead. I can't even go out to the bars in here without cigarettes smoking. You know what I'm at, community college dropouts. We talked about this last time. So anyway, that's my work. I can't get out of my driveway. I'm not going to be able to live here anymore if we build these houses and we're getting a traffic light, 1 traffic light down the street to get all of us out of our neighborhood. And this building on the work that we've been doing on there, it's been great the last 2 weeks because people found another route outside of Church Street. So the last 2 weeks, it's a bumpy road, but at least I can get out of my driveway. So we've got to do something about maybe not allowing cut-throughs. Because I'm hearing people in Austell saying, I drive by your house every day. Where do you live? Austell. I don't even know where Austell is. And they're just using my neighborhood as a cut-through because they don't want to go on Concord. And can't we get one of those flashing signs that tells people how fast they're driving? Because I'm tired of screaming at people telling them to slow down. Because between one stop sign and another stop sign, it's an Autobahn. So, thanks.
That's where the majority of our traffic problems are from people living in West Cobb and South Cobb.
And cutting through.
Yeah. Nothing you can do about it.
So, and they did something about it in Buckhead and Collier Hills. There, if you're coming off of Northside Drive, you can no longer make a right between a certain time. And what they'll do is they'll stand out there and they'll say, which house do you live in Collier Hills? So that, we can get a police saying, this is not a cut through. That, you started off and you get these little tags on them. It says Church Street and a CS. So the police know that who lives off of Church Street and who's not allowed to go on that road. So that's what they do in Collier Hills, and it has a CH on the back of their car, and so they're allowed to cut through because people are using it as a cut through to avoid the light.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. My name is Lindsay Chasen. I live on Northview Place, just right down the road. I actually am exactly what they were talking about with Wood Partners, where I previously was a renter about 2 years ago in Smyrna, moved in from out of Atlanta in town in Buckhead to Smyrna with my fiance, where we, after a year, purchased a home. So we are a case in point, and definitely, I think, in line with the demographic that you guys are chasing. So I just, first of all, wanted to kind of reiterate for everybody here that the site has been approved. The 2007 ruling has been approved, so they could essentially execute that plan. And so what's up for debate is not whether or not to include apartments, but how many. And I was at the Planning and Zoning Committee and was really impressed with what I heard there. And so I am here offering my support for this. I think it's a great way for us to embark on doing something productive with that land that has been completely empty for as long as I can remember. And I went to school, high school, up in Marietta High School not that long ago, and remember when it was empty. And very much look forward to being able to walk to something and enjoy dinner and bars and restaurants and Publix. I hate driving five miles to go to Publix and sitting in traffic forever. So I just wanted to say, express my excitement and my approval of Jonquil Plaza. This property has sat too long, generating no tax revenue and no citizen enjoyment for far too long. I do want to say thank you to Halpern Enterprises because they have been a great partner to the city, and as evidenced in the Belmont Hills development. I own a rental property over off of Belmont, and I, for one, am very excited about what they're bringing to the area. The work that I've seen there impresses me to no end. They have beautiful apartments and a live, work, play focus. I'm really excited about the tavern that's coming down there. I think it's Whitefield Tavern, if I get that right, which I used to visit in Buckhead, but now I can visit in Smyrna. So I know that they're going to have greater plans to revamp, renew, and rejuvenate our long-abandoned Jonquil Plaza, and I very much look forward to it. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the millennials because, let's face it, folks, millennials are not buying right now. So you want to talk about apartments, even if there is a focus and a hope that they will go to condominiums at one point, they're not buying right now. So we need those luxury rentals for them to consume and for them to become productive, law-abiding, tax-productive citizens of Smyrna. And the people who live here will need somewhere to go, somewhere to eat a meal, something to do, somewhere to spend their money, and to graciously give you those Cobb County tax dollars. So Jonquil provides all of that. A couple of things I wanted to also mention about retail. The economics of retail only makes sense if you have two things: rooftops and parking spaces. And so this particular development promises both of those things, and I guarantee you that the economics of this does not make sense without the rentals there. So, in closing, as a citizen looking to continue Smyrna's renaissance and growth, I 100% support this. Thank you guys for listening to me, and I may have darts on my back as well, but I'm proud of it. Thank you.
My name is Jeff Carter. I live on King Springs Road here in Smyrna, Georgia. I want to start off saying is Smyrna's more than a grocery store. I'm very pro-development. I think rentals, apartment rentals are great in the right place. What you have proposed here is not a mixed-use development. It's a mix of uses. They're scattered all about, they're individually parceled, and they don't have to be built together. You can build the apartments and everything else can fail. There are currently 16,818 apartment units in Smyrna. Will another 290 break the camel's back? I don't know that this is the right place. I met my wife in Market Village. I love Smyrna. I've got dozens of friends who've also met their spouses here as well. And Market Village is a place where you can sit down and socialize, not taking a 296-story parking garage, 6 stories in Smyrna, Georgia, packing it in the corner of 12 acres and dropping a 1.2 acre grocery store in the middle and then packing other retail around it and calling it mixed use. I think Smyrna is on the up and up. It is the hot place. It is the cat's meow. And if we wait another 2 or 3 years, or we send them back to the drawing board, I promise you the site plan developer wanted to build something better, but this is all they could stuff in because you're not going to get the apartments if you don't get this long lusted for grocery store on the site. And the only way it can fit is to point it in a direction that doesn't face a road, in a direction that doesn't make sense as far as aesthetically pleasing. When you stand on Atlanta Road, you're going to look over and see the side of this grocery store, and then it's going to be overshadowed by 6 stories of a parking garage. That's not the Smyrna I know. If I wanted to see that, I'll go rent at the Braves sites where you'll have that. There's going to be over 1,700 apartment units at the Braves in the surrounding area. So there is a supply for that demand. And if it takes a lawsuit, because I'm sure that may be the next step if you don't approve this. But you know what? We've spent $20 million on tearing down apartments. Let's put Scott to work and get him. And yes, we'll take rentals. We'll take it, but let's make it a true mixed use, not a true mix of uses. It's a little here and a little there. That last plan in 2007 was sexy. I mean, that's a great plan. Everything meshed together. So I don't know. I feel like it's a done deal because I've watched 8,000 dump trucks roll into the site. And what developer would spend that kind of money if he didn't know he had it in the bag? So I just look at that, but maybe it's not lost. Maybe it could be a 4-3 denial. I love Halpern. Maybe Halpern will come back and say, you know what, got some great feedback that they're right. This isn't a mixed use. It's a mix of uses. So 6-story parking garage in Smyrna. I love rentals, but I think that's a little much. The last plan was a really sexy plan. So I do want to close by saying send them back to the drawing board. And Smyrna is more than a grocery store. Smyrna is more than a grocery store. Thank you.
I'd like to say something real quick. The last plan, and I'll use your word, it was a sexy plan, but the last plan also included $20 million of public funding that this plan does not include. Actually, no, that was a tad, and we don't have that anymore. So I did want to point out that matter of clarification, that the last plan passed the but-for test. But for the $20 million in public funding, that plan would not be built, and now the funding is not there for that plan. So please take that under consideration.
All right. Yes, sir.
Thanks. I'm John Durkee. I've lived in Smyrna for 10 years, live at Parkview Village. I'll state right up front that I support the plan and I'm in favor of approval tonight. There's no need to rehash all the issues that have been raised concerning apartments versus condos, traffic, retail, grocery store, at the Publix, Fresh Market, Trader Joe's, all that. I support the redevelopment plan, and it's time to approve it and move on. The property was zoned for mixed use back in 2007, according with the City Master Plan for Development. Halpern's brought forth a plan that is in compliance with the current zoning for this parcel. Halpern has agreed to stipulations requests for the various planning committees to make the development appealing, pedestrian-friendly, a live, work, play environment. Planning and zoning has recommended approval. Odds are we'll never come up with a plan that pleases everybody, but the current plan appears to address the previous major issues. High-end apartments, and I disagree that the right kind of rental development breeds crime. Built to condo specifications and of a quality that would allow conversion should the market support it. If the community continues to project this global perception that apartments and their tenants are not invested in Smyrna, then the young professionals will look elsewhere and will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. The long coveted grocery store is in the plan, and the elevations are of a design and style to blend with a market village that is visually appealing with internal parking. If you as the council decide to deny the development, then we are owed an explanation as to the specifics why this plan is not in accordance with the zoning, and the developer must be given the opportunity to address those specifics accordingly. It essentially defeats the purpose of having Planning and Zoning Committee charged with ensuring compliance with current zoning ordinances. Again, I'm in favor of it as it's presented, and I request council approve it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Linda Averill Gordon. I'm in Argyle Estates. You know, it's a fait accompli. The place is going to be built. It's just now a question of the semantics. However, I live very close to that Spring Village. that has the farmers market and the rest of the retail stores, and the traffic problem there is enormous. Whoever planned that must have been on drugs, because the in and out that you have, right in and right out, it works. However, the other area where the dry cleaning store is doesn't work. It is an accident waiting to happen, or many accidents waiting to happen. And I see the same thing. It's a smaller parcel. I see the same thing for this. The feasibility study on the traffic has not been really looked at. The in-out has been is okay, but it doesn't always work. And as I said, I know what it is in Spring Village, and that is bad planning. And I just suggest that you really look into this, because you've got those people on Church Street. I have a major light at Campbell and Spring, and it is backed up basically all the time. People are making left on from Spring onto Campbell. I mean, why they're not rear-ended, I cannot answer that. But it's going to happen at some point in this development, and it's just not working in Spring Village. And regarding the apartments, condos, hey, 2007, one of the councilwomen, she said that it was plenty of advertising for it, the community center. I'm sorry, it was not. It was not posted, because I would have gone. I would have seen anywhere that it was posted besides the community center, if it had signs on wherever you put the signs, I would have gone, because it impacts where I live also. So I just want the council to look into that. How much retail stores, I don't know what you're going to get, but let's hope that you actually work on getting traffic where people live, that they're not impacted negatively because of not having the right system implemented. Thank you.
Hi. First of all, thank you all, every one of you, for doing what you do. I know that anytime you're faced with density, there's always a challenge. And you have a really difficult job, especially with the dynamic here and the comments that you've heard, et cetera. First of all, let me address myself. My name is Tori White, and I'm on Ashwood Drive, Wade. I wanted to talk to you, oddly enough, about my dog, Finn. I love my dog. I don't have children, but I have a dog. And the reason my dog is so important to me, because most of my life I wanted this dog, but I wasn't in the career that could support the dog. I was a flight attendant for Delta Airlines, and I lived in Midtown. I've lived all over. I've lived in New York City, where the density is really a challenge, where traffic is really a challenge. But throughout that time, I knew that I had to have this dog. He's not a small dog. He's a German Shepherd. So 6 years it took me, law school, living in Midtown, MARTA, Fox Theater. I knew that I wanted my dog. I was very purposeful about this dog and this animal, because if I don't have children, I want to give this being that depends on me the very best that he can get. And that's why I chose Smyrna, because it gave my dog freedom to roam. I could actually get to the dog store to get dog toys and dog food without sitting in the traffic or getting on MARTA to tote his toys. Did I mention he's a German Shepherd? That's why I chose Smyrna. So folks are talking greatly, and I appreciate the comments in favor of this development. I mean, they're really solid. However, we're talking about all the things that Smyrna could be. It could be fantastic if we developed. It could be great. It would be wonderful. But guess what? It's already great. I chose it because it's great. I chose it because I wanted to be purposeful about my dog, Finn. And I think that's what the sentiment here today is. These folks chose this community because of all the great attributes that Smyrna already has. And that's what troubles me mostly about this development. When you rezoned in 2007, 2008, I'd love some clarification. Was that rezoning not purposely centered towards condominiums? There's a difference.
It was not. The vote that was taken was for apartments that could be converted, so they're built to condo standards and could be converted.
And I appreciate the clarification. But if we're totally honest, and just as a point of clarity, to the gentleman that said that it's a limitation, I'm offended by that. I really am. I'm offended to think that being purposeful equates to treating people differently. It does not. I want to preserve what Smyrna has and that makes it great, and I want to be purposeful about this development. And I think if we just gather up the folks that are talking, this is not what we want. We're relying on you to give us what we want. We want to preserve the greatness that Smyrna is. And certainly we understand development. I mean, it's not a lot of people have said it, but I'll say it. The Braves are coming. So certainly we have to allow for that. But we need to do it purposely. You can't rezone something in 2007 and 2008 and then throw it down our throats 5 years later. And I hope you appreciate that I'm in no way flippant. I couldn't do what you do. I don't want to do what you do. When I present my dog Finn, I'm talking about an animal that has a lifespan of about 10 years, but these folks have worked hard 10, 20 years to invest in homes, their families, their children, and they want you to be purposeful and about their children. They've done that because the community represents that, and I think that's what they're asking. At least that's what Finn is asking for. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maggie Shannon, and I live on Nancy Circle. I have heard a lot of talk about apartments and condos, and I'm more interested as an architect and somebody very interested in urban design. What happened to the site? I get maybe we don't have the TAD money, the $20 million, but I think you need to go back to the drawing board. I don't think we are representing Smyrna and what we are and what we can be. I'd like to see Publix or whatever grocery store goes there. I am a proponent of having a grocery store there up on the street. Make it accessible for pedestrians as well as if somebody goes and lives there or drives their car. There needs to be much more of a mixed use, not parcels, as one other person said. I think this site plan is so unsexy. I think it has no uniqueness to it. I apologize, Halpern. I know you're putting in a lot of money trying to do this, but we deserve more. That's it.
Good evening. My name is Rod Miller. I live at 3236 Millwood Trail on the Heritage of Vinings. I also own 3 properties in Ward 3. 2 of which are quadruplexes. I have 8 rentals there that I've been renting for 17 years. I had a couple of questions. One, a point of clarification. There's been a tremendous amount of discussion about what was approved in 2007, 2008. And when Mr. Sudworth put up the slides earlier, the slide indicated what was approved was condominium/luxury apartments. Now, Ms. Newell just said that those were approved as apartments with the provision to convert to condos. There seems to be some point of confusion about what was actually approved back then. So I'd like some clarification on that. Secondly,
let me go ahead since I gave the presentation.
Yes, sir.
Let me go. It may have just been flipping the words, but the issue is it went through a variation. There were a lot of discussions at that point in time. The bottom line is, as Ms. Anulowicz said, is correct, that it was approved for apartments with the condo conversion. Just at staff level, we listed it that way simply because that's how we consider it. It was apartments to be condo standards. If it didn't phrase out that way, that's my fault.
Okay, fair enough. Appreciate the clarification.
But initially, and when the company went before the school board for the TAD, it was condominiums. It was owner-occupied condominiums. Okay. And that's, but it never got to that point because they never could close on the property. And then at that time, I think it was converted. So initially, it was owner-occupied condominiums.
Okay. Initially, the conversations were condominiums, but the actual vote was for apartments. Is that correct? I'm not asking the audience. I'm asking Mr. Sudworth. Thank you, though.
Yes, that's correct. It went through multiple discussions as to what it should be, but the final vote was apartments built to condo standards.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. My second question is concerning the stipulations and the provisions that have been listed with regards to approving the development. Who in the city is responsible for ensuring that those provisions are adhered to?
The provisions for the development?
Yes, for the development.
Might be a number of people: Public Works, City Engineer, Community Development.
Because there was quite a list, and I have lived with several years now with a development in Smyrna in Ward 3 where there were a number of provisions that were stipulated when that developer was approved for development that they have violated repeatedly. And there doesn't seem to have been any oversight from the city or action on the part of the developer to ensure that the provisions were adhered to. So that was the purpose for my question. So thirdly, I haven't heard any discussion at all about construction traffic. I live in the Heritage of Vinings. I own and manage my properties in Ward 3. I travel through that intersection at Spring and Concord numerous times a day in the transactions of my business. And I didn't hear any discussion at all about whether or not there's going to be some restriction to the construction traffic that is going to be necessary to develop the site and what impact it's going to have on the throughput of the traffic through that intersection. Are there any stipulations at all with regards to the construction
I'm not
traffic?
sure. When you say, when you build something, you're going to have construction traffic in there.
Okay. But in terms of them using Roswell Street and Whitfield Street and Hawthorne Street as cut-throughs to get to Windy Hill versus coming through on...
And why would they want to do that? They couldn't get through there. You got Spring and you got Windy Hill.
They're getting through there now. They're getting through there with the...
They're not even started yet?
With Whitfield Park.
I would think that the main roads would be Spring, Atlanta, Windy Hill.
I would think as well, but my point is that there aren't any stipulations or there hasn't been any discussion with that regard. So I just wanted to bring that up. Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, if I can just answer that, let me clarify the process. Not every I and T has to be crossed in a zoning condition, because we already have certain regulations that are already, whether the property is rezoned or not, they have to follow. The mechanism to ensure that is coordinated through the Community Development Department, but it involves multiple departments. Okay. It involves the Public Works Department, the Traffic Engineer, the Fire Department and Fire Marshal aspect on that. Under community development is the building inspectors and the soil erosion people. So there are a bunch of departments that are coordinated through the community development department in a plan review. If something doesn't meet the requirements either from a zoning standard or from something that's already in one of our ordinances, it will not get approved. It'll be redlined and sent back to the applicant to make those corrections. So there are a lot of processes outside of the zoning process that ensure that. The conditions we attach to zonings are ones that are outlined in the zoning ordinance that already talk about that, and we repeat those in there because we think they're important on that. But it's not all conditions because they're automatically picked up in other ordinances that we enforce.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Carol Main. I live on Vinings North Trail. I am a 20-year resident of Smyrna, and I am a homeowner for most of those 20 years. Prior to buying a home in Smyrna, I did live in apartments. I lived in what is now called Vinings Corner. On Atlanta Road, we do have Vinings Corner. We have Rock Creek, very large apartment complexes. We also have Belmont Village that is now building additional apartments. I am requesting that this council table this proposal and send it back for the community citizens to review what's going on. And let me tell you what my concerns are. I heard that everyone said that in 2007 apartments were approved. Here is a picture from 2007 that invites people and lets them know that it's going to be condos at Jonquil Village. Mayor, you are correct. It was condos, not apartments. I understand Halpern and I respect what they're doing for Belmont because Belmont Village needed to be developed. I appreciate the energy, the emphasis that they're putting into that. But I don't believe that we need to treat Jonquil the same way we're treating Belmont. Jonquil is a smaller area, and Jonquil is the gateway to Village Green. The proposal in 2008 is very different, and it is not simply, as the attorney for Halpern stated, amending the plan. The original proposal included underground parking spaces to allow more green space in Jonquil Village. It also never incorporated, as the picture shown, that it was going to be apartments. It was going to be condos. It also never incorporated a 6-story parking deck. It incorporated more stores, and I'd like to talk about retail and restaurants for just a moment. With the Braves coming, what a wonderful opportunity for Cobb County. What a possible struggle for the citizens of Smyrna. Many of our restaurants and our shopping areas are along Cobb Parkway. With the Braves and the traffic, we are losing a lot of those services. I know this city loves to focus on city services. I am asking that you focus on the need for retail and restaurant in moving further west, because we are losing our ability to quickly move around Cobb Parkway because of the Braves coming. It is also because of the Braves that I believe that you need to table this proposal. You need to rethink the changes that are going on in our community and rethink what is right for this gateway land at Jonquil. I have some specific questions. I've heard them talk about the importance of these apartments and how expensive they're going to be, and they're more valuable than Belmont. I can tell you, as a person who rented for a number of years before I became a homeowner, high-end renters don't want to live parallel to railroad tracks. The railroad tracks are active railroad tracks. In 2004, the city of Smyrna published a document called Smyrna Livable Centers Initiative. In that, it recognized that the noise from the railroad tracks was going to be a deterrent for how that land was used. In 2004, the city of Smyrna said that we probably will need a parking deck in that area because it's so small, but we need to build it parallel with the railroad tracks to help control the noise. That's not what's being done. My other concerns are, I'd like to know how high the parking deck is compared to the 4-story apartments. And in feet, please. I would like to know where all the dumpsters are going to go. 291 apartments is going to be a lot of trash. We also have a restaurant that's being built. Sorry, but we have a restaurant being built right by Aunt Fanny's cabin. Where's their dumpster going to be? How is that going to impact Aunt Fanny's cabin? Don't know when the last time you've been there, but I think it's a pretty nice little area for little things. Do we want a smelly trash can behind it or next to it? please think about this, table this proposal, send it back for review, and do the right thing. You're known for it, and I ask that you do it again. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mary Rose Barnes, Oakdale Park. I have deep concerns about the environmental, logistical, and safety details of the proposed project, noting that 3 of the members of the Planning Commission agreed with my concerns. There has been no mention of the schedule of construction. If the apartments should be built before the commercial entities, and if later circumstances prevent construction of commercial sites, the community would be left with the detriment of 290 apartments without the benefit of retail. This has happened before. According to its city engineer's comments, the applicant simply plans to modify the existing approximate detention pond to accommodate the stormwater runoff from the development. However, he stated the obvious at the Planning Commission that underground detention would be necessary. I heartily concur. A small detention pond cannot handle the stormwater from a 13-acre project of almost total impervious surface. Underground detention should be definitively stipulated. In addition, since a portion of this tract had a service station and garage, I believe that an industry-standard filtration system should be installed to protect water quality as well as provide erosion control. For safety's sake, the proposed light at Church Street should have left only, with the only left turn location on the site, should have a left turn light. Otherwise, such left turns would be suicidal. While I would hope that MUTCD standards would require such a left turn light, such a device should be clearly stipulated. I agree with the city engineer that the project should include the requirement of pork chops at the 2 non-signalized access points for obvious safety reasons. I would also request that these pork chops be illuminated to protect people from inadvertently jumping the curbs at night. When I requested of Halpern representative that the applicant install deceleration lanes, he responded that municipalities no longer recommend decel lanes. I beg to differ. There are decel lanes all over the community. Approval of a recent subdivision in my area with just 36 living units required a decel lane. It is customary for shopping centers to have decel lanes for safety and for efficient traffic control. I cannot imagine a grocery store wanting to be in a project with 290 apartments, several restaurants, and along with this big box grocery store without decel lanes. Without those lanes, there would be massive traffic backups, especially with the addition of the light at Church Street. This intersection is at the heart of Smyrna, with additional traffic being added from the nearby Halpern project and the traffic from SunTrust Park. The stipulation of number 13, stating that the developer be responsible for such traffic improvements deemed necessary by the city or the county during planning review, is moot and would not guarantee decel lanes. Although a county engineer told me that the county would require decel lanes if the project were in the county, we all know that the county does not participate in plan review in projects that are wholly in the cities. It's possible that a grocery store would also decide they didn't want to go in a project without the decel lanes. The community does not need the imposition of 290 apartments. Without appropriate safety and environmental precautions, even with the limited retail uses offered, this development would be a detriment. Thank you for your consideration.
Anybody else? Y'all can mosey down front. Go ahead.
Everybody kept beating me up here. Stephen McQuaid, 1555 Roswell Street. I live in Williams Park and had the privilege of being in a couple of, I won't say private, but invited to meetings with the prior development with Branch and some of the community and staff members. And I brought this point up then. I brought it up the first time. I brought it up in P&Z, and some other people have referenced it. And Ms. Adolowicz knows that I've brought it up to her, so I'll say it one more time. This is our one and only chance to get this right. And I think we did the right thing before, or you guys did, by turning down that project. Back in 08 or 07, I was in favor of it. I thought it was great compared to what Jonquil looked like at the time. And I was not opposed to apartments. But since then, I've got 300 apartments that just got completed at the end of Roswell Street, Belmont Apartments. So I think this, and we needed good apartments. You need those people to live here, to work in the restaurants that we all want to go to work in the shops, because those who are buying the houses aren't going to work those jobs. However, I think we've got those apartments in place. I'm not sure who is on the urban design committee, and Ken sent me the whole 20, 30 pages of all the design and architectural standards, and I questioned, and no offense to Halpern, this looks like every other nice shopping center, but this is our one chance to get this right in downtown Smyrna that you precipitated, 15, 20 years ago at the start of Market Village. That's what drew me to Smyrna from Sandy Springs and the Dunwoody area. The outside events, the uniqueness of it. You drive through Brookhaven. They had a great opportunity to do something good there, and I think they failed. And someone spoke the other night about P&Z about leaving because it's just massive strip malls. I know Halpern has a vested interest. He's done a lot of great work where my kids go to school at Smyrna Elementary. I think Belmont's a great project. I know they've got the talent to design architecturally something we can all be proud of and not just look like every other shopping center in the city. Look at Vickery, look at Crabapple, look at downtown Woodstock. They made it look like it was here before. Unfortunately, Smyrna lost a lot of its buildings, but we could recreate that look. Vining's Jubilee. They've got the ability to do it. They've got projects in North Carolina and South Carolina on their website that showed a more diverse project. So with that said, I'll quit hammering that point. If you're intending to vote for this, there's a few points I'd like to bring up. The traffic study was said it didn't need to be re-examined. Again, Belmont was not on the radar. The 300 apartments at the end of my street were not on the radar. The 76 new homes across from me were not on the radar. The intersection of the railroad, again, as Terry and Eric know, we've been working for a long time on it, is an absolute nightmare. This is only going to add to it. Instead of pushing that project down the road, if this goes through, I think that needs to be incorporated for those citizens coming out of my neighborhood, as well as people coming down Atlanta Road, as well as coming out of Market Village. For once and for all, something needs to be done with that intersection. As far as, and I don't mean to get in the weeds here, but if this does go through, the fine details in that urban design plan talk about setbacks and door fronts and really detailed stuff about elevations. I don't really see that in this project other than a use of EIFS, a use of some brick, in two different shades of, stonework. It does not look like Market Village. It's not to the detail that I would think all of us want and want to be proud of. I want to support this project. I do. I'm tired of looking at the dirt. I want to be able to walk, ride my bike, take my family some other places other than because we spend a lot of money at Zuka and Atkins Park. But let's do it right. And again, if apartments are the case, let's quit kidding ourselves. When is the last time an apartment complex is converted back to condominiums? It's not going to happen. Another point, Ms. O'Nulowitz brought it up earlier. In the meeting we had at Community Development Center when they announced this, I questioned about the rooftops. And the gentleman said, well, the original tenants down the street are paying for it. I said, well, you're going to build these buildings structurally to where they can accommodate it. And the answer was no, unless the first tenant wants to spend the money. I've talked to a guy who's opening a restaurant here in the Market Village who approached them. They're doing the minimum, which is probably standard, but the new tenant's going to have to pay for that. Well, if it's you're putting half the people out that's going to want to come in there, but we need to pin them down. Tonight he said yes. I think that's a huge selling attribute, whether it be with millennials or it be with senior citizens. The deck at Atkins and Zuka proves that people like to be outside. We need to pin them to that. And then as far as just the materials used, again, I don't buy into this whole millennial thing. The baby boomers have come Your habits have changed. Their habits are going to change. The ratio's a little out of whack. But we want buildings that will stand the test of time. So hopefully when I'm here 25 years from now, we're not tearing this down again like we did Jonquil. Look at Virginia Highlands, look at Decatur, look at Inman Park. The buildings are 75, 80 years old, and people are paying $800, $900 a month to live in a shoebox of an apartment. So please take that into consideration. If we send this back to them, maybe we can change the rules. We don't have to wait a year. I know why that law came about or the rule. I think it's maybe outdated. If they're willing to take it back, go to the design table. I think they were a great partner for the city. Not make them wait another year to resubmit a plan if it ends up with that. Thanks.
Has everybody run out of steam? Is it my turn?
It's your turn.
Okay. My name is Al Graves. I reside at 1079 Pinehurst Drive, Southeast. I was a little surprised when this project came up again. I thought we put this apartment deal to bed last year, but apparently we didn't, other than this financial arrangement that was set up. But I am not opposed to apartments as a possible solution to somebody's problem, but that's not the solution. I am opposed to any housing in any form on Jonquil Plaza or Jonquil Park. That is the last opportunity for Smyrna to make an effort to establish a viable commercial area on the main street in Smyrna. That's gone at Belmont. That's over the thing. And just to emphasize my point, I'd like to take you back to our recent past history. If most of you know, for more months than I can remember, this council, or some of the members and the mayor, had a moratorium on construction of apartments in any shape, form, or fashion, because suddenly we'd become aware of the ratio changing in the city, and in your wisdom, you decided that we needed to go to single occupancy homes in order to restore that. Now we go through the problems with the recession and all that sort of stuff, and now suddenly apartments resurface as the answer to all of our residential problems. We're going to bring in the right type of people. It's going to answer all these problems. I don't think so. Jonquil Park, and a lot of you here know as well as I do, functioned as a viable commercial area for many, many years. And why suddenly we have to make it a residential area? The apartments that's constructed at Belmont should have cured that heartburn temporarily. You've got 274 apartments down there, which should satisfy the need. And I want to say one other statement here. I feel like, since at one point in time in your wisdom you decided that there would be 146 square feet of commercial supported in the Jonquil project. There wasn't any mention of that in Halpern's program. They did up it from the original 10,000 up to 40,000. But I'm telling you, if this is approved, Smyrna can say goodbye to any commercial development, because you're certainly not going to do demolition on these expensive apartments and so forth. And I would like to strongly suggest, I don't know the exact method, but I wish that the city, council, mayor, all the department heads and so forth would make a concerted effort to get out and contact commercial interests in the entire United States, if it is possible, to have a viable, functioning commercial area in its entirety on Jonquil Park. I won't be here probably to enjoy the fruits of it since I'm advanced in years. But you got the future of a city, and you've got 50,000 citizens on your back to make the right one. So let that guide your wisdom and your conscience as you make a vote on this thing. I think it should be turned down, and I think apartments or any type housing in that particular area should be null and void. Thank you.
Anyone else that was sworn in that would like to make any comment? I want either Steve West or Kevin Moore or somebody come up here. I got a couple of questions that I wanted to ask. Tell us about, we just, the last speaker spoke about retail, commercial. The property's been sitting there for 7 years. How come it can't be an avenue, as somebody mentioned? I'm asked it all the time. I'm asked every day, how come Whole Foods is not here, or Trader Joe's? But I don't. These guys are in the business. Tell me why they're not here. My philosophy has always been this: if they wanted to be here, they would be here. And for some reason, they're not here. So maybe y'all can explain that. How come they're not here? And how come it's not commercial?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. And I think, first and foremost, you have Halpern Enterprises, which is one of the preeminent retail developers and operators in the Southeast. And I think Steve West of Halpern can answer that question very well. But I think that it's important that, again, what is being brought or proposed is a major grocery there. That is significant retail. That's why I said it to begin with. It cannot be said enough how important that is. But I want to let Steve West, because he's the expert on retail. That's what they do for a living, and that's what they've done for years and years and been very successful at it. So I think he's appropriate to answer that.
Well, thank you. First, before I answer the question, I just want to say thank you to you, Mayor, and City Council for your serious consideration of the proposal and for your patience with the process. I know this is a important development and an important corner in the city, and it's one that affects many people. And one of the things that makes Smyrna a great place is that the people who live here are passionate about their town and love it. And so whether all of those people agree with our plans and proposals or not, we recognize and respect the fact that they love their city and they want what's best for it. And as Kevin mentioned, our company is primarily in the business of developing retail shopping centers. Our company's been in business just over 50 years. I've worked there 26 years of that time. My first day at work, I came to see a property called Belmont Hills, and have spent my entire career in Smyrna in one way or another working on this property. And driving by Jonquil Plaza and watching the planned redevelopments and so forth there, I want to say two things. First of all, our company is a long-term company, and one that, while we don't take advantage of every opportunity that comes our way, we do as good a job as we know how to do to avoid making big mistakes. And so during a recession and a time when retail and other development projects are going through a terrible time and people losing their properties to banks and so forth, our company didn't lose any properties to banks, and we kept our properties operating because we believe in the fundamentals that make a shopping center and a retail project successful. And as somebody mentioned earlier, it has to do with good access, it has to do with good parking, it has to do with good demographics. And those things exist in Smyrna and are well suited for the project that we have proposed at this point. There are other reputable and desirable retailers, some of which we have contacted about Smyrna over the years that, for a variety of reasons, that don't find this to be a fit. Either it's too close to some project that they already have, or they think the competition isn't right, or the traffic patterns aren't right, or the demographics of the people who live here. They make decisions all the time that I don't pretend to understand. But what I will say is that if this project could be an all retail shopping center type project, we would be doing something like that. That's our core business, and so it's not possible to do that. And so we reached out to Wood Partners because of the good working relationship we had with them at Belmont Hills, and have been so impressed with the way they've gone about their business. And they are one of the largest development companies in the United States, developing all over. And so when they tell us the type of renter that would come here, the type of rent they can afford to pay, we trust their judgment because they've got quite a track record of being able to do that. So I'm sorry I was all over the place, and I know I was asked a specific question, but I appreciate your time. And
what about the infrastructure has come up? Is there proper infrastructure on that property to, for water, for sewer, for erosion control, for storm sewer?
Yes, sir. As Mr. Sudworth mentioned, a number of items are listed in the conditions of the zoning, specifically the traffic signal that must be built and installed and paid for by our company, the extension of the water line along Spring Road that has to be built and paid for by our company, the extension of the sewer line underneath the railroad tracks has to be upgraded at our own expense. Those things are typically, not necessarily zoning conditions or zoning concerns. They're things that are in the development code that any project needs to meet, and we have studied each of them, including traffic. And of course, our project, as proposed, is significantly less dense than what was already entitled for the corner, and so we're doing less square footage of retail, fewer apartment units on the same size property with the same number of access points. And so the number of trips that will be generated for the property in the future will be fewer than it would have been had it been developed under the 2007 plan that is approved today.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you. I think that concludes the public hearing portion of the, or comment portion of the hearing. Ms. Anulowicz?
Yes, thank you. I have a few things to say, and I'm sure my colleagues up here probably have some things that they would like to say also before we move ahead with this vote. But I do, I very, very much appreciate the time and the thoughtfulness that the speakers who came here tonight put into their remarks. I mean, this is not something that anyone is approaching lightly, and I know that none of y'all are approaching this lightly. I mean, I live in this neighborhood. This is my community. I don't want to do anything that's going to devalue my investment in my home and jeopardize the safety of my children. So I take this as seriously as I know all of you do, and I hope that you know that I appreciate the time you gave tonight. It was noted that this was, the 2007 plan had apartments. They were going to be converted. This was funded by $20 million of public money. It was a sexy plan. It was a wonderful plan. It was a transformative plan. But that's not a plan that can exist today without that kind of public money. And I don't know if, the public, and I mean the public meaning everyone who is outside of this room in addition to people inside of this room, are willing to fund something like that. We don't have the TAD funds, and it's a different, this is a different project. This is a different time that we're in today. We have been through the recession. Now, I think there has been ample time for public input prior to this meeting here tonight. We've had the open house that was at the community center. There have been planning and zoning meetings. There have been urban design commission meetings. There have been a lot of meetings and time to discuss this. There's also been a lot of time, and I know a lot of you in the audience have reached out to your council members and to your planning and zoning member and to staff members in the city. I know a lot of us have talked individually with people, and all of these documents have been available to review in person, to review remotely online. So I do think there has been plenty of time for public input. Legally, we as a council, we can't base how we vote on a head count. It's not just not ethical, it actually is illegal. So that, that's something that we cannot do. and moving on, it's going to come as a surprise to no one who's followed this project throughout the years, that I have supported apartments in downtown Smyrna since the very beginning. I supported this in 2007. I supported this through all of its different iterations, and I'll tell you why. We need this kind of housing in Smyrna. We don't have this as part of our inventory. There have been apartments that have been redeveloped, like Avonlea Square, in the past few years. But one thing those apartments aren't is walkable to the downtown amenities that data proves people want. People want to live somewhere where they don't necessarily have to own a home, but they can walk to restaurants, they can walk to shops, they can walk to parks, they can walk to libraries, they can take advantage of things like bike sharing and trail infrastructure. We have all of those things here in downtown Smyrna. What we don't have is the high density, very high quality rental housing. I don't agree that people who rent are transient drug dealers. I think there are a lot of compelling reasons why people rent houses. There are a lot of compelling reasons why people want to live in high density neighborhoods. There are also a lot of data that supports why there isn't a market for condos right now. The median net worth of millennials right now is 43% less than it was for Generation Xers when they were the same age back in 1995. 43% less. That's a reason why people aren't buying houses. Another huge drag on the finances of younger Americans is the fact that they have a mountain of student loan debt. This year's graduating class, these are college graduates, they're going into good jobs, and they owe an average of $35,000 in student loan debt. That precludes people from buying homes. It doesn't mean they want to be transient drug dealers. It just means they can't buy a home yet. There's going to be a millennial housing boom, but it's not projected to happen for another 10 years. I tend to make decisions based on data, and I have found a lot of data that has driven me to support apartments in downtown Smyrna. So you have a cohort that has student loan debt. They're making less money than they were before. They have less net worth. They're delaying purchasing cars. When you buy cars now, they tend to push you into loans, not just 4 years, but 5, 7, 8-year loans, because that's the way that people can afford to buy cars, because they need the smaller payment. By June of this year, home ownership among Americans under age 35 fell to 34.8%. That was down from a high of 43.6% in 2004. So again, these are some of the facts that I'm using to determine why I support apartments in downtown Smyrna. I also think that we do need to respect property rights, and that is something that plays into my decision as well. I think we're obligated not just to consider the current zoning. And again, if someone wanted to come tomorrow and build 300 apartments and 188,000 square feet of retail, they could do it without consulting anyone or coming to anybody. That is built. I mean, that could be built. That zoning has already happened. So we have to remember what we're voting on tonight, and that is to change the number of apartments from 300 to 291 apartments, to change the amount of square footage, and to change the layout of the plan. So I think we have to remember what we're voting on here tonight. So going to property rights, when this property was purchased by Halpern, part of the value of the property, that was the way it was calculated, was based upon that 2007 zoning. So this property was purchased with the understanding that it was zoned for apartments. I have reservations about a government entity changing the value of a property. I think that is treacherous ground, and it's not a path that I am personally willing to go down. I think that there were a lot of things that I loved about the 2007 projects. There are a lot of reasons why I understand we won't have anything the scale of the 2007 project. I understand that rooftops beget retail, and we do need high-quality retail in Smyrna. We do need more restaurants in Smyrna. We do need more bars in Smyrna. We need more clothing stores in Smyrna. We need more of all of those things in Smyrna, but they're not going to come without the rooftops, and that is just a reality of the market in which we live. So I am going to go ahead and move to approve item 4C, which is 2015-227. This was the public hearing for zoning request Z15-014. Approval of a zoning amendment to modify the currently approved site plan and building elevations, 12.62 acres, land lot 559. This is the northeast corner of the intersection of Atlanta Road and Spring Road. The applicant is Halpern Enterprises Incorporated. Again, I very much appreciate everyone who came to speak tonight, whether you spoke against this or spoke for this. And I hope that you will continue to be this engaged in everything that happens in the city of Smyrna.
I have a motion and a second to approve the zoning. Any discussion? Comments?
Yes, there is a discussion. Who seconded?
Ms. Pritchett.
Okay. Just wasn't registered there. There are several aspects of this that I want to speak to. First of all, the personal property rights. Each time I've had an opportunity to look at a zoning application or a building permit or any aspect, I'm reminded that the United States is unique among the countries on the planet in preserving, protecting, and defending personal property rights, that someone who buys a piece of property has the right to use it within the confines of certain rules and stipulations and community standards. I will always adhere to that principle. It's what makes us different and unique as a country. To that end, we do have community standards here, and we do enforce, and we urge anybody who is considering building here to do so. I do not own this property. No one in this room owns this property. Mr. Halpern, who does own this property, not in the room today, but over 50 years now, his family has been an invested part of this community as a retailer. And that investment speaks to his long-standing respect for and symbiotic relationship with Smyrna. I'm proud that we have a number of folks like that, from auto parts stores to auto dealerships to restaurateurs and many others who have chosen to be here in Smyrna. And every month we get new applications for alcohol permits for one new restaurant or another, and we see new restaurants opening up in different places. It is encouraging. We get a sheet every month that gives us the new businesses that are applying for business licenses. I'm encouraged by the growth of the city of Smyrna. I've shared this point before. Many of you have not probably heard it, but with the advent of Google Maps, there is no longer a secret that Smyrna is nearby where everybody wants to be, but it's in an unusually wonderful place with a rather unique set of people who live here. I moved from in-town Atlanta to Smyrna because I got married to a Smyrna girl, and I like to, and she allows me to bed down nearby. Given that many of you who testified today have done something similar, you moved to Smyrna as well. We could have chosen Roswell, Sandy Springs, Buckhead, any number of places, but we decided to invest our money here. I'm encouraged by seeing so many people investing in Smyrna. But with the advent of Google Maps, there is not 1 square inch of our community left off the developer's tote board, I promise you. And multiple developers are just looking at every available buildable lot and every available tract of land in the Smyrna area. And they're not knocking Smyrna's door down by accident. They're bypassing Marietta and Roswell and Sandy Springs to get here. We just have to understand that we have been discovered and we are popular. To that end, many of you raised questions about traffic, and I know early on one of the comments was it's hard to get out of your driveway. I live off Cooper Lake Road on the south part of town, and it's 15 minutes to make a 2-minute drive every day between 7 and 8:30 to get out of my neighborhood. I feel your pain. The mayor pointed out what it is. We're getting the westward residents making their path through Smyrna, and they choose Church or Cooper Lake or many of the other throughputs that are our cross streets. Windy Hill, when that project was contemplated in the beginning, it was as a relief to a decision made in Marietta on Whitlock. And so the Windy Mac and Windy Hill, and we are in the next SPLOST going to spend even more money on trying to manage the growth that is on our western periphery. This project, while in the middle of town, many refer to it as a gateway. It does have a gateway element, but our gateway is at the other end of Spring, where the Atlanta Braves are about to plop down $1 billion. And there are developments coming on that end as well. Emerson Center will be up for consideration sometime early in the year, and that is another gateway project. So we're going to have many other conversations like this about the limited availability of real estate in Smyrna and what will be on those pieces of property. This property has been fallow for a number of years, and it's been an embarrassment for many of us who drive by. And I too want to make sure we get it right. I don't own this property. We do not own this property. We can only respond to the application we have been presented, a proposal that has been made. And under the law, we have to weigh what is available to us as an option. Under the law, they could build the 2007 plan merely by going and pulling a permit today. This project is less dense on retail, less dense on housing, less dense on a number of things. It doesn't have a parking deck the way the other one did, supported by public money. And the traffic is going to be less at this site based on the numbers that were done at the traffic study in 2007. Ms. Taylor, I know you don't live in the city, but you made some good points about traffic management and decel lanes. Those things are good inputs, and we appreciate that. We'd love to have you in Smyrna. You're close enough by you could ask for annexation, by the way. We'd love to have you. Everybody likes to be in our business. I just want you to be in our business. Those of us who do pay property taxes here welcome those who want to be a part of the discussion by joining us. And by the way, we're in our 25th consecutive year without property tax increases. You wonder why that is. We continue to experience growth. And when the growth comes, we spread the pain out. So nobody in here has experienced a property tax increase in 25 years. And I'm very proud of that, and I want to continue that record for the next 5 years. To that end, this project, while it's not exactly what I want, it's not my money. It's not my investment. To the standards that we have established in the city and the pattern that we have created and the action taken in 2007 to allow for this site to be developed in a certain way, I think legally I have no rationale for saying no to this project. Legally. We have urged the UDC and the staff to be as stringent upon the look and feel of the project as we can. It's not perfect. I don't know that any application that we're going to ever see is going to be perfect. Some suggest 100% retail. That is, as Mr. West just pointed out, it just wasn't possible. They would love it to be that way, but there isn't enough to justify that. Secondly, frankly, for retail and commercial to be successful, you need rooftops with per capita spend. That means people have to move here with a per capita income and are willing to spend the money. And I think the combination that Halpern Properties and Wood have put together here represents these professionals who are in this business, who are every day thinking about every aspect of market share and profitability, and that's this is what they have concluded is the best available product, or they would have come with something different. And it is with that understanding and appreciation that I will support this project tonight.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Mr. Wells.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. I appreciate everybody's comments this evening. And like Ron, this is not a perfect project. I look back at the 2007 project, and it wasn't a perfect project either. The density was high. The parking was underground. That was great. But I can still look back and say, there are things about that development that I don't like. I can look at this development and say there are things that I don't like. But at the same time, Terry is a very statistical person, and she researches everything, and I listen to everything that I hear people say, and I watch people. And my daughter's looking for a one-bedroom apartment right now. She has a close friend that just bought a one-bedroom condo, so I know the market is there in both cases. And along Ron's lines, we've looked at this project every which way I possibly can. From a legal standpoint, from a practical standpoint, and with that, I do intend to support the project. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Pritchett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it. I do appreciate all of you coming this evening. and listening to what you have to say. I wish all of you could have been at the other meetings that we had to have your input. We did get a lot of input from other citizens. And I do have a couple of things I want to explain to you why I seconded this motion. You talk about, postpone this plan. The plan that we have tonight is what's on the table and what we're here to vote for. Legally, we have to do that. Each of us represents over 7,400 people, 7,400 people. And as Terry alluded to earlier, legally, we cannot decide against something because people are upset about it. What I listened to was the traffic. It's a traffic issue. I don't know where I can go anywhere on any day and not have traffic. And then the other part is just apartments. I don't like apartments. I don't like apartments. That doesn't give me a legal right to turn this down because you don't like apartments. I have to do what the law tells me to do. And I have to make a decision based on that. And I've had a lot of correspondence from people in my ward, Ward 1, who are excited about this project, but didn't have the time to come tonight because they had family, children that's doing different things. They told me, I want this project, but I also have to consider everybody else too. So that's the reason that I'm going to support this plan, and did support it by voting, seconding the vote. But I also believe in personal property rights. That is something that we have in this country, and people die in other countries to try to have it. So I do believe this is going to be a good project. It may be different from what you want. It may be different from what other people want. We can't please everybody. And I do thank you again for coming.
Any other comments? We have a motion, a second, to approve this. All those in favor?
Yeah, I just want to say something. I want to thank all of you for coming. I actually wanted to build a boutique hotel with a day spa. I thought that would have been nice. But that didn't go over. But anyway, this is not an easy decision. It really isn't. I worry more than anything else about the ratio, because I don't care what I'm a broker, a real estate broker. I know what sells, and I know that one bedrooms are not popular. Maybe they'll become popular. Let's hope so. But right now, they're just not as popular as you would think they are. So anyway, thank you so much for coming.
Anyone else?
I'll speak. So one of the things that concerns me about this project is the traffic. And when I look at the plan that was approved before, I understand that there were 2 full entrances and exits in this development. And I have concerns about not having but 1 full entrance and exit in terms of the traffic and the design of that intersection. And and I know that I appreciate all the hard work that's been in there. And additionally, with what Andrea said, I have concerns about the 1-bedroom apartments and whether they would ever be converted to condominiums. But mainly, is I look at the traffic of that intersection and the exit plan as far as getting in and out of that complex with everything that's in there. And I also feel like there's been a lot of growth and changes since that traffic study was done in 2007. I think that's like 8 years ago. And there's been a lot of changes in Smyrna since then. And I would have liked to have seen us do that study again. So thank you.
Anyone else? Motion is second to approve. All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 4-3. The nays are Ms. Bluestein, Ms. Wilson, and Mr. Lineker. It's approved 4-3. Item 6 is formal business A's 2015-147, approval of Concord Road Corridor Development Concept. Ms. Tony Jo Howard, the background, please.
Yes, this is a request for the approval of the Concord Road Corridor Development Concept.
It recommends that a portion of the approximately 7.5-acre parcel located along the north side of Concord Road be developed for commercial retail use, with the balance developed as a passive use linear park.
Well, they're leaving. They're leaving. Okay. This is Mr. Welch's committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As many of you may recall, and I hope some of the citizens attended some of these sessions that we had early last year, I guess it probably was. We hired a consulting engineering firm or consultant to come in and review this property that we had along Concord Road that was left over after the Concord Road construction. What it simply is I believe it's roughly 2.5 acres along the north side of Concord Road that was, like I say, left over after the Concord Road construction. And we looked at doing one of three things. We looked at a strip park. We looked at doing a residential development along there, and we looked at a combination of the two. The residents overwhelmingly, I guess, looked and reviewed and, of course, recommended the strip park. But we've had some interest in that as far as putting on the far east end of that property a commercial entity. And the council has looked at that and considered it. And what we're here tonight is to at least adopt a formal concept for that development that will go to, portions of it will go to DDA for their sale of the property, if that's what the council desires. There is a plan of it that we have floating around the office, and it may be on the board up top. I don't know. I don't think we have it. But anyway, that's what this is, and it is strictly a concept. We are voting on the concept for the approval of that plan at this point. We're not voting on the exact plan or anything, but it is a concept plan at this point. With that, Mr. Mayor, I guess we'll ask any questions, but I'll make a motion.
Did Rusty have something he was going to show us?
No. Okay. With that, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion for approval of 2015-147, approval of the Concept Road Corridor Development Plan to include a partial commercial entity and the remaining to be a strip passive park.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'd like to say something real quick. This area is not in Ward 3 right now, but it is going to be in Ward 3 after the next election, and I was very happy to be included in the conversations and the public information sessions, everything that led up to where we are tonight. As Gorky said, this is a concept. A question came up earlier tonight in our work session about the materials of the sidewalks, and that's not what we're determining in this concept. That's going to be determined when we do get into the actual design portion. But what this determines is that we do want to move forward with something that is really a hybrid, where you have some commercial, but you have mostly park. And I like that. I like it for a lot of reasons. One, because I think that that's something that will be very welcomed by the community, by the neighborhood here. I also feel like it is something that is a positive thing for the taxpayers. Parks take a lot of money. When you talk about planning a park, you're talking about basically the perpetual care that it's that kind of level. And so to have something that also generates some revenue at one end of the park, I think is a very positive thing for this plan. And I'm very excited about this concept, and I look forward to voting on this tonight.
Any other comments? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. It's approved 7-0. Item 7B, 2015-271, approving to enter into a contract with Lyman Davison and Dooley, Inc., architects, interior designer, planners, to provide architectural and engineering services to document and renovate the historic Reed House, and have the mayor sign and execute all documents. Ms. Tony Jo Howard, the background, please.
Yes, this allows us to engage an architectural firm to begin to look at the Reed House, to develop drawings and surveys of that house, as well as to begin to assess the condition of the house and provide some recommendations as well.
That's Ms. Corky Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some 4 months back, the mayor approached me and asked me if I would put together a committee to take a look at the Reed House, which we had just purchased, and kind of a two-pronged task. One was to look at the areas within the Reed House that needed repairs or improvements. Secondly, to look at the operation of what we may put into the Reed House. I formed a committee of 9-10 people, and we came up with a long list of possible uses for the Reed House. No matter which of these uses we decide to move forward with, there were some architectural aspects of the house that needed addressing. One was we had a single bathroom on the main level of the house. We had some minor structural issues on the front porch. We want to evaluate the HVAC and the electrical within the house. And that's what we're looking for Lyman Davidson and Dooley to do at this point. Lyman Davidson Dooley is a local company. They actually operate out of Marietta, but the principal is a Smyrna resident. What they've proposed to do is a 3-step process. The first step is simply to produce a working drawing of the interior of the house. And I might add, it's a gorgeous home. It's very very impressive to walk into the front door of. But to produce a working drawing of that house, the second portion of the contract is to review the systems within the house, including the structural, electrical, HVAC, look at the restroom possibilities, look at the kitchen, just look at everything within the house, and to make some recommendations of improvements to the city that need to be done simply to meet code for public use. And the third is a pick and choose by the city where we may elect to do some or all of these recommendations, but based on the final use that we put forth before this council, to make the design improvements, or complete the design for those improvements that we want to move forward with. With that, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve 2015-271. It's just the approval to enter into a contract with Lyman Davidson and Dooley Incorporated, architects, interior designers, and planners to provide the architectural and engineering services to documents and renovate the historic Reed House, and have the mayor sign and execute all documents.
A motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 4-3. With Ms. Bluestein, Ms. Wilkerson, and Mr. Lineker opposing. Item 6C is ordinance 2015-15, approval ordinance chapter 102, utilities, article 3, section 102.43, 102.44, and 102.45, general sewer use requirements. Ms. Tony Jo Howard.
Yes, this is from Public Works to establish an ordinance to provide rules and requirements for the general use of sanitary sewer for both commercial and residential customers, and rules and regulations for the specific discharge of waters and waste into the City of Smyrna wastewater system.
Mr. Corky Welch.
Okay. Well, let me give a brief explanation of, can I do the three?
Yeah, the next three, actually, C, D, and E are all ordinance chapters that have something to do with sewer, grease traps, inspections, and hazardous material.
I'm glad I know a little bit about this. I'm going to go down the list one by one. The first one is Ordinance 2015-15, which is approve the ordinance, Chapter 102, Utilities, for general sewer use requirements. What Scott has done is gone into our existing ordinance and basically brought it up to date so that we match the county's requirements for sewer use and setting the standards for what contaminants can and cannot be discharged into our sewer system at what levels and so forth. With that, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve Ordinance 2015-15. Approve Ordinance Chapter 102 Utilities, Article 3, Section 102-43, 102-44, and 102-45, General Sewer Use Requirements.
A motion second to approve this ordinance. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's 6-1. Ms. Nulowich is, I think she's in the bathroom. Item D, under formal business, Ordinance 2015-16, approval ordinance, Chapter 102, Utilities, Article 4, Section 102-46 and 102-47, sand and oil grease interceptors. Mr. Welch.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. This is an ordinance revision, again, to bring us up to the county standards on our sand, oil, and grease interceptors. Put in simple terms, each of our restaurants and food establishments, we require, and the county requires, that they have an oil grease trap at those facilities. Again, this basically puts us in line with what the county requires and just improves upon what we had in the previous ordinance. With that, again, I'll make a recommendation to approve Ordinance 2015-16, approve Ordinance Chapter 102 Utilities, Article 4, Section 102-46, 102-47, sand and oil grease interceptors.
A motion second to approve this ordinance. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. It's approved 7-0. Item 6C, under formal business, Ordinance 2015-17, amend Appendix D, design specifications for storm drainage, roads construction, Section 5 by deleting Section 5, water mains and service lines in its entirety, and replacing the Section 5 water system design, maintenance, and hazardous reduction procedures. Ms. Howard, the background. Have we already done that?
No, I'm just behind. Yes, this was, as we've talked about with the other ordinances, just to put into formal policy, more in line with what the county's doing for the water mains and service lines.
Mr. Welch.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is just bringing us up to current standards. We had several products and methods that were in our existing design standards and maintenance operation procedures that were not up to date. This simply brings us up to date with those standards and procedures and puts us in line with what the county is doing at this point. And I'll deal with Scott Stokes tomorrow for not being here. I'll make a motion to approve Ordinance 2015-17, amend Appendix D, design specifications for storm drainage, roads, construction, Section 5 by deleting Section 5, water mains and service lines in its entirety, and replacing with Section 5, water system design, maintenance, and hazard reduction procedures. Make that in the form of a motion.
A motion is second to amend this section of the code. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 7-0.
I promise not to hurt him.
Yeah, I would. I'd catch him early in the morning. That's when he's in the best mood. Item 7 is commercial building permits. We have none. Item 8 is consent agenda. Ms. Howard, will you please read the consent agenda for council's approval?
Yes, we have 2015-262, approval of the mayor and council meeting minutes for August 3rd, 2015. Item 2015-255, approval to purchase 7 equipped Ford Explorers as part of the FY16 vehicle replacement fund at a total cost of $257,528.80. Item 2015-256, appointment of Brian Marcos and Mary Wallace Moore as alternate members for the License and Variance Board. Item 2015-251, approval of use of Smyrna Memorial Cemetery grounds by the Smyrna Library volunteers and staff for a storytelling event on Saturday, October 17th, 2015. And approval for retroactive use of the council chambers for Wednesday, August 5th, 2015. This mistakenly had said for the Ward 7 Town Hall meeting, but it was actually for the Smyrna Arts and Cultural Council.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Motion is second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion, please vote. It's approved 7-0. Before we start with committee reports, I just want to let folks know tonight is Tony Jo Howard's last meeting. She has she's leaving us. I think this Saturday's Friday, Sunday. Friday's her last day. She's been our finance director since 3 years ago. We hired her, and she's done a great job. And she also stepped in as well as Ken Sudrith and Tammy Sadler-Jones, and they've acted as the acting city administrator. We're going to miss her. You always said the right thing. There was never any fluff behind whatever you said. I wish you well. You're not going to move, are you? You're still in the neighborhood. So we wish you well. So,
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'd like to echo that sentiment. And
why don't you wait till we get to you? Because if you echo it, baby, it's going to be 5 minutes before I get over here. You can echo it when you get your turn. Let's start with Melanie Pritchett. Yeah. Go ahead, Miss Melanie Pritchett. We're going to start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That meeting that we just approved that was held in council chambers last Wednesday was the Smyrna Arts and Cultural Council, and this was started from the vision process. And they elected their officers and their directors, and they now have 75 members that have actually paid their membership dues. And they are moving right along, making lots of plans and set up some things. So we'll be hearing more about that a little bit later. For President, Jeff Jones. Vice President is Bill Marciana. For Treasurer is Troy, can't say it, Zather. And Secretary was Sean Martin. And then there were 15 people that are citizens in Smyrna that were also elected to be directors. That was Greg Arvitt, Joe Bland, Casey Clavin, Slade Gullidge, Judy Hartley, Barbara Kincaid, Nancy Lampour, Tricia Meyer, Frank Millen, Caitlin Sather, Charlie Standard, Joan Stewart, Ann Talton, Kathleen Newland, and Ellie Wolf. So those people are the board and the directors, and they are moving forward, and we're excited about it. The other 4 groups have been having their meetings. They're not quite as far along as the Arts Council is. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll yield.
Ms. Andrea Bluestein.
I want to thank all of you for coming. I'm so tired, and I'm sure you are too. I have nothing to say. Thank you.
Ms. Sharon Ulowich.
I think I've said about all I'm going to say at this point in the evening.
Mr. Corky Welch.
No, I'm not through. Melanie just spoke about the Arts and Cultural Council, and I've attended the last 2 meetings. That group they are going to be unstoppable. They're going to make some great things happen in Smyrna, and I think if each of you out here are looking for something else to do, consider being a part of the group. They are very energetic and active, and they're going to make some things happen that we're really going to appreciate as a city. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Susan Wilkinson.
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Wade Lineker.
Just, I want to thank Tony Jo Howard for her service to the citizens of Smyrna. I was proud of her when she got her Georgia CPA licensing, and she's done a great job for us, and Tony Jo, will miss you. Thank you for all you've done. With that, I yield.
Mr. Ron Fennell, now we can.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The echo that I wanted to offer is that I have a great deal of respect for Tony Jo as a professional who understood her role, and she understood how to help us get where we needed to be. And while we had a lot of the elements already, she packaged them properly and sold them properly, along with Eric Taylor, to the folks in New York to claim our AAA bond status that we have earned as a city with good fiscal management. And since the moment that happened, I nicknamed her AAA, and every time I see her, I'm going to call her AAA from now on. As a Smyrna resident, I know I'll see her often, but we thank you for your service and your dedication to the city. And good luck in your new job. You don't have to go through this. Not so lucky for some people in the room, Doug. So I wanted to mention that I have 2 town hall meetings scheduled in September. One September 2nd at Bronner Hall. This will be the final meeting on the remaining questions and answers that might be needed surrounding the application for rezoning by Sean Tentle on the North Cooper Lake project of the Venture Homes 15-home project. That meeting will start at 7 o'clock. The September 22nd meeting is going to be in the Vinings Estates neighborhood at the Summit Clubhouse regarding the Maxwell annexation and zoning proposal for homes that he has on Pebblebrook. With that, I hope everyone drives safely. If you have an opportunity to see a member of our public safety community, do as I do and thank them for what they do on our behalf 24/7, 365. With that, Mr. Mayor, I yield.
Yes, Attorney Jo Howard, anything?
I would like to say just a sincere thank you for the support and the opportunities that I got while I was here. The department head group as a whole is unbelievable to work with, and I will truly miss them, and thank God they're not still here tonight.
Scott Cochran, anything? Sure.
I'll add some very, very important information in the spirit of the way things have gone tonight. I'll back up something with data. By my count, there are at least 10 places in downtown Market Village, 10 restaurants. We got Zucca, the Tavern, Taqueria, Moe's, Atkins Park, that new Italian place, the old Quiznos that's going to be opening soon, and let's see, Hungry Howie's, and the sushi.
I missed Hungry Howie's. Did you were not listening to my comments?
You said 8,
Sushi
yeah, and
place,
the sushi place. So
got a wine store and a brewery.
Yeah, well, and then I threw in the Growler store, and that's 11. If you have that, Shane's is in here. Yeah, so, for what it's worth, I know it's very important at 11 o'clock. And, Tony Jo, this is the kind of stuff you'll be able to miss in the private enterprise.
Anything, Mr. Telegram? You want to mention it one more time about the election and qualifying?
The first thing that I'd like to say is that I've enjoyed working with Tony Jo Howard, and I'm going to miss her. She has been a wonderful colleague, and I wish her well in her pursuit with her new career. The second thing I'd like to say is that we're going to have an election in November. All of our seats are up, mayor and council. We will be holding qualifying on August the 31st, September 1st, and September the 2nd, 3 days in a row from 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. with an hour off for lunch from 12:30 to 1:30. You can find all the information for the election on our website at www.smyrnacity.gov. Thank you. Com. Our incumbents are, for mayor, Max Bacon. Ward 1, incumbent Melody Pritchett. Ward 2, incumbent Andrea Bluestein. Ward 3, incumbent Terry Anulowitz. Ward 4, incumbent Charles Corky Welch. Ward 5, incumbent Susan Wilkinson. Ward 6, incumbent Wade Lineker, who will be running for mayor as he has already declared, and Council Ward 7 incumbent Ron Fennell. The other thing that I would like to discuss is the ability to vote, and it is our right to vote. And I encourage every single Smyrna citizen to register to vote and to vote in this election. Your local election is one of the most important elections that you will vote for. You have the ability to register to vote online at www.sos.ga.gov/elections. So please come to the city, go to the county, register to vote, and vote in this election. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do not have a show cause hearing. Citizens input, Alec Backery, 3459 Shawnee Trail. I don't think he's here. Howard Martin, 3435 Lee Street. Al Graves, 1079 Pinehurst Drive. Ron Fennell, City Council member. Topic is re-election. Put the clock on now.
I only brought 17 pages. I'm going to abbreviate it. Mayor, Council, and the members of the citizens of Smyrna, I just wanted to take a moment to come down here and say I've enjoyed the last nearly 4 years of my experience. Government closest to the people is right here where the rubber meets the road. It's not always an easy task to make some of the decisions required to be made while sitting in one of those chairs. I sat out there and watched it before, and it's a whole different ball of wax whenever you get back in front of that screen. And I recognize how difficult and how much of a responsibility that it is. I'm grateful that I have the means to be a public servant. I am grateful the Lord has blessed me with a functioning brain and a lot of friends who help get me through my day when I have to cope with an awful lot of things. And I am extremely blessed to have a wife, a family, 2 wonderful little boys that we moved here to Smyrna to make sure we raised them in a community that was as supportive as this one. I am proud to be a Smyrnan, and I tell everybody. Everywhere I go, I find somebody who said, I used to live in Smyrna, or my dad used to live in Smyrna, or somebody I know. Smyrna is well known because of the people. We have a lot of things arrayed before us for our future, for which we may be known for, from the Atlanta Braves to the Riverview Landing to other things. But we're known mostly for the nature of our people and the supportive, wonderful family that it is. We may disagree. We may have differences of opinion and strategy and tact. But at the end of the day, we pull together as a community of interest, and I'm proud to be a part of this community. I've represented Ward 7 that was redistricted in 2012. That, in essence, was before I got elected that we redistricted. So I represent the district that was carved out in the 2001 map. For all intents and purposes, 2 full wards of population, almost over 12,000 citizens. That's the Bennett Woods community, Patricia Place, a lot of neighborhoods along the corridor that Mr. Welch and his district will inherit. I'm going to miss representing King Valley and King Springs and an awful lot of that area that will be inherited as we carve the districts up evenly. But I love living where I live. What I've discovered is that everything that is in the new Ward 7 did not exist in the city of Smyrna 20 years ago when Mr. Pete was on council. That's a daunting task to help those folks understand and be inculcated with Smyrna values, because those folks moved into neighborhoods that didn't even exist 20 years ago. So I have a big task ahead to help them be a part of the greater Smyrna family. And many of them have a challenge with our zip code. We're not going to give up on that, Mr. Mayor, because over 5,000 of my citizens in Ward 7 have a Mableton mailing address, including yours truly. Don't think that doesn't wear on me every day. I have to put a return address sticker on one of my envelopes, and we're not going to give up on that. What I've learned, though, that the U.S. Postal Service doesn't even listen to the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives or the Postmaster or any other government entity. So we have to do it by a different method, so we're going to try to do that. Among the things I'm proudest of in the past 4 years are the nature with which we have coped with post-recession America here in Smyrna, and we have come out of this downturn in a very strong manner, as you could tell with the developments that are consistently on our program of work. We're going to continue to see more of that. I'm proud of the annexations that we've had in this last 3 3/4 years. Am I jumping into the microphone too deep? Annexations of over 100 acres into Smyrna just in Ward 7. 82 of that was Jamestown Development annexing 82 acres on the Chattahoochee River with a full mile of frontage.
You're not going to believe this is the first time that the machine has stopped.
Okay.
Now it's going.
Innuendo. I like that.
You've been talking for 30 minutes.
Hey, I'm running in a totally different race than you are.
You got 40 seconds.
But I did want to offer that the people of Ward 7 have been a treat for me to represent, and I want to continue to do that. I am hereby offering my name, and I will qualify for re-election for another 4 years for Ward 7. I'm proud to represent Ward 7. I'm proud to represent the city of Smyrna. Thank you.
We have Stephen McQuaid. Is he here? 1555 Rossford. Wade Lundica, 3950 Glenhurst Drive, Smyrna, Georgia. Mayoral elections is topic.
Mayor, Council, I have 2 brief updates and announcements I want to make to the citizens of Smyrna. First, I'm hearing a lot of conversation as I go door to door campaigning about how long the current incumbent has been in office. Citizens ask me if I plan to stay in office for a long time or as long as the incumbent has been. The answer is no. I will not stay in office as long as the mayor has. I don't want to be in office for a long time. I pledge here tonight to serve only 1 or 2 terms as mayor. I commit to that publicly, and I say it on the record. The governor of the state of Georgia is limited by the state constitution to 2 terms in office. The president of the United States is limited by the U.S. Constitution to 2 terms in office. These elected leaders have far more responsibility in their executive roles than the mayor of Smyrna. That example seems to me to be the appropriate model for Smyrna to follow. So I repeat my pledge that I will serve no more than 2 terms in office once I am elected mayor. Further, I promise to work with the new city council to amend the charter and the code of ordinances to limit the mayor to a maximum of 2 consecutive terms in office. I believe this is the right thing for Smyrna. I want the citizens to know the differences between the incumbent mayor and myself. There are many differences. Term limits for the mayor are one huge difference. I will not be a lifetime mayor. I do not know how to say it any more clear. Second, starting today, citizens all across Smyrna began receiving robocalls. These calls do not identify who the caller is. At the very end of the call, a very rushed voice says that the call is paid for by a letter, and it gives R, followed by a string of numbers too rapid for anybody to catch, followed by Montgomery, Alabama. There's no transparency as to who these calls are coming from. The calls identify the 3 announced candidates for mayor. It is a survey call. It asks a lot of questions about the mayoral race, followed by demographic questions about the citizen who answered the questions. And I just want the citizens of Smyrna to know this. The robocalls are not coming from my campaign or from me. I know how much people hate robocalls. I hate robocalls. I have never used robocalls. If you have any doubt about what I just said, just ask yourself if I would pay for a robocall that mispronounces my last name. You know, I'm flattered that the incumbent is worried enough about the election coming up that he would use this tactic. I think it's distasteful to the citizens. Maybe he'll share the results with me. I don't know. But I would suggest that it's time for a new leader, new vision. Thank you for your time.
Paul Burns, 212 Knollside Court, Local 530. I don't know what that is.
Good evening. I guess I picked the wrong night to do citizens input. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. My name is Paul Burns. I'm a lieutenant with the Smyrna Fire Department. I have 12 years experience, and I'm currently at Station 3 on C shift. I'm here to introduce our new affiliation with the International Association of Firefighters. I am the president of the Smyrna Professional Firefighters, Local 5030. The IAFF is a 300,000 member professional association representing over 85% of all career firefighters and fire-based paramedics in North America and Canada. The IAFF is a professional association that represents firefighters' interests. All we've ever asked, the IAFF has ever asked, is for a seat at the table, so when decisions that are made that affect our safety, our health, our benefits, and our working conditions, our voices can be heard. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I do.
No.
I have a question.
Well, it's not a question and answer period.
That's correct.
Okay. But I mean, what I'm basically doing is just letting you guys know that, you know, we've newly formed back in November November 7th of 2014, and you're going to see us a little bit more out there in the community. You're going to see us a little bit more active. You guys may get, questionnaires for the upcoming election and whatnot from us, but I just want to basically let you know we're just going to be more involved in the community.
Can I ask, are you,
This is
and I
not
don't
a
mean this the
question
wrong
and
way, are you a quasi-union or something like that?
No, it's the International Association of Firefighters. Has been around since 1918. Over 300,000 professional firefighters. So, which actually makes up over 85% of all firefighters in the United States. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
Terry Nulowich, Ward 3. Unless you got anything
That's
else
it?
you want to say.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Terry Nulowich, Ward 3. Campaign announcement. You're not going.
Hi, good evening. I'm stepping down here tonight to this podium because I do want to announce my plans to run for a third term as Ward 3 representative. I got into this in 2007, and I don't think at that point in time Max or any of the other folks up there who were up there at the time knew quite what to do with this pregnant lady who decided it would be a great idea to run for city council. But what I wanted to do was make sure that the residents of Ward 3's neighborhoods had a voice in everything that was going on in Smyrna. And Ward 3 is a very dynamic community. We have some of the oldest neighborhoods in Smyrna. We have some of the newest neighborhoods in Smyrna. We have historic communities like Rose Garden. We have Williams Park, which has really maintained its tremendous character through a lot of redevelopment and rezonings. We have infill developments. We have people who've lived in their homes for 60 years. We really have a cross-section. It's a wonderful community, and I wanted to make sure that everyone who was in Ward 3, whether they'd been there for 3 years or 3 generations, felt like they were contributing to the conversations happening in Smyrna. And there were a couple of conversations taking place at the time. And one was the major redevelopments. Again, when I was pregnant with that little girl who's in 2nd grade now, that's when we were originally doing the zonings for Jonquil Plaza and for Belmont Hills. We have had... Now we see things are finally going vertical. We have major changes that have happened, things like the Braves stadiums, and we continue to be really thoughtful about the residential redevelopments that we have. One of the other things we wanted to do was improve school options, and I'm very proud of how we as a council and how I was able to work with folks with the Board of Education to make sure not just that we got Smyrna Elementary School, but that it's located where it is, that it's a community school, but it also can meet the needs of a growing community, everything to the name of the school. I'm very proud of how that has worked out and how it really has rejuvenated public education in Smyrna. I also wanted to make sure that Smyrna continued to have a vibrant quality of life and that we had a very distinct sense of place. And I think that we have done a lot for that. We have events like Smyrna's Food Truck Tuesdays that we've brought to the community that have been very well received. We continue to grow events like the Jonquil Festival and our fireworks birthday celebration that we had just a few weeks ago. There is a strong sense of place here, and we're adding to it even now with things like the playground improvements that we've had throughout the city. We brought bike sharing to Smyrna. We continue to grow the bike and pedestrian infrastructure. So even though we are outside the perimeter, you can come here and you can see the downtown skyline and you can live just like you'd live in any other in-town neighborhood. So I really want to make sure we can do that. We've also been able to do that while maintaining our millage rate by not having to raise taxes. We made it through the recession with no furloughs. And I really would like to continue to have the privilege of representing Ward 3 on the City Council. Ward 3 is changing a little bit. I'm picking up more of Smyrna Heights. I look forward to meeting everyone in the new Ward 3 boundaries. And thank you for your time tonight.
Andrea Bluestein, Ward 2, campaign announcement. Does anybody else want to speak? You want to run for something?
I'm going to make this very brief. You know, this last 4 years has gone by so quickly. It seems like yesterday that we were signing up to run for the first time. It has been an experience that I will never forget. No one could possibly prepare you for some of the things that you run into and some of the enjoyment that you have with this job. I had been on the planning and zoning for 10 years, and so I thought, well, I know a lot of the people on the council, and so on and so forth, and I'm a political science major, and so on and so, and it was something that I had always thought about, never really thought that I would possibly do. But I have enjoyed this last 4 years tremendously. I do hope that the citizens of Ward 2 will give me 4 more years, because I am announcing tonight that I am going to run for another 4-year term. If the heaven is correct, and I hope that I win. So anyway, thank you so much, and I'll see you around the neighborhood. Thank you.
That concludes, I think that's the last person on citizens input. I declare this meeting adjourned at 11:12.
Yeah, I love you.